At Miami Grill, we've been delivering big favorites from big places for over 30 years. We use fresh ingredients that pack bold flavors, and we always deliver your food the way you like it. So tonight, don't just bring home dinner, bring home Miami.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 5 Reasons Sports Miami Dolphins virtual free agency blitz. We call it a blitz, but it hasn't really been that fast moving for Dolphins fans as the news has been slow rolling out. I am joined. A trickle. The slowest trickle possible.
It's probably the equivalent of Miami's pass rush early last season.
It took a while to develop. It took a while to develop.
Shots out of 10-6 teams. My goodness, we're starting early. I am joined today by Alfredo Arteaga and Chris Kaufman from a 3 yards per carry. I'm also joined by Juan Cardona and Louis Sung. You've seen a bunch of us on these Dolphins stream throughout the season, whether it's pre and post games. You've obviously been listening a lot to Chris and Alfredo on the 3 yards per carry. And if you haven't, you're missing out on some great Dolphins content. So far, the Miami Dolphins have come to agreements with, I think it's 9 people or 8 people. Michael Pilardi, the punter, Malcolm Brown, running back, Justin Coleman, Vince Beagle, Jacoby Brissett, Sethan Carter, Adam Butler, and they traded for Benardrick McKinney. Is there any of those moves that have happened so far that are really exciting to you guys, or are we just looking for the best from the situations we've got? Alfredo?
Yeah, I like the Benardrick McKinney trade. I like it a lot, but I only like it if there's another shoe to drop, and that other shoe has to be an edge player to replace some of Shaq Lawson's snaps. Because if they do that, then I think that you probably ended up ahead if you got Benardrick McKinney, this hypothetical edge player, Davion Clowney, and you swap out Shaq Lawson and Kyle Van Noy, you actually save a couple of bucks, hypothetically. Yeah, it's a good trade-off, and I think that they improved the defense if they did that.
All right, and I'm going to throw this one to you, Chris, just because you've thrown his name around on the podcast. So Davion Clowney, who has been linked to the Dolphins before. We don't know the situation right now. Do you think Jadeveon Clowney is what they're looking at to kind of reemerge from a pass rush standpoint, or are they looking at other players either in the draft or free agency?
Well, if they looked at him once, they could look at him twice. But I have a feeling that there are some dominoes that have to fall first, and I think that there are some things that are probably a little bit on hold. They're working around the edges of the roster right now. They really are. And they're doing the roster maintenance moves. That's all we've seen so far is roster maintenance and nothing else. So I think there's something cooking. I think there's something a domino that has to fall before they can even start to look at, Jadeveon Clowney is going to cost a little bit more. It's probably not like, a Carl Lawson haul, but he is gonna cost some money, and they might not be up for it, truthfully. So he fits. I mean, the thing is, you have to look at which guys fit. We saw Matt Judon go over to the New England Patriots. Why? He fits. He fits the defense. He fits the wingspan and length demands that they have for that position. Jadeveon Clowney also fits. And he's the guy that remains that does fit the best. So, we'll see. But I mean, right now, I just have a feeling that, we're not, maybe we're looking in the wrong areas. Maybe there's other things happening and we don't really know what it is.
Yeah, and I know one area that a lot of people were excited about with the Dolphins in free agency was the wide receiver position. And that is a position that in free agency so far has moved very slowly. Thank you, Noel. I appreciate the comment. Juan, I'm going to throw this to you. We've debated a lot about the different free agent wide receivers out there. If you listen to 3 yards per carry account, I know that Simon specifically is a very big advocate of don't spend too much in free agency, wait for the draft. There's a lot of options. Of the names out there, Juan, and we can throw this around to anybody, is there any name that you think they should be going after regardless of price tag?
Nah, not regardless of price tag. I think it's been very apparent based off what the moves they've done. That price tag right now is probably the most important thing. They're being very meticulous. They're being very detailed with these moves. And even just like with the Ted Karras signing, from what I've read, it was that he wasn't waiting for the Dolphins to commit, and he only signed for 1 year, $4 million. So is it something that we're really trying to hold on to a $4 million offer or $4 million a year offer? it does feel like, kind of like CK saying, like it feels like there's something else in the works, and that kind of is dragging down the wide receiver market as well, because you see the big money teams like the Jets and the Dolphins, they haven't really splashed into the wide receiver room because most of the time they're asking for a lot of money. Juju, Kenny Golladay, they're all asking for prime dollars, and it doesn't look like most teams have that to spend.
Yeah, for sure. Lewis, is there any wide receiver? Oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was just going to say, keep in mind though, the Jets did go ahead and Corey Davis and get Corey Davis for a price, and they've jumped into free agency with Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, some other guys. So
Jared
they
Davis,
Jared Davis for about $7 million, something like that. So they dove into free agency and did, sort of Miami's routine last year when they went into free agency and got some guys. I think that's kind of telling. They're not on hold with anything. The Dolphins seem like they are kind of, trimming around the edges and holding off a little bit. And I know that some people are saying, and I've said it too, hey, we don't necessarily have unlimited budgets and everything like that. We only have so much cap room, but at the same time, they can create more. Like every team out there right now is treating this cap year as, kind of a one-off because it's so low compared to what's going to be happening in the future, with COVID and the impact that had on revenues. The Miami Dolphins aren't doing that.
Yeah.
And so they haven't, yes, there's only a little bit of explicit cap room available. Well, not a little bit, but, a good amount. But they could be expanding that by a whole lot, just like everybody else has. And they haven't chosen to do that. And we don't know why. And we'll see what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sorry, Juan, real quick. Before we jump into anything else, I did want to say thank you to Michael Vowell for the $2 donation. If you guys want to support us and donate in the super chat, we want to say thank you for that ahead of time. We're going to call you out. And if you want to add a question specifically, if you donate in the super chat, we'll make sure to get to that question right away. So Michael didn't say anything specifically, but if anybody else did have a specific question they wanted to ask, don't be afraid to type it in there when you do the super chat. Sorry, Juan, I'll get back to you.
No, let Lewis go. Lewis actually was going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lewis,
they've
been, if you want to talk about wide receivers, you can, but the Dolphins have also been moving pretty slowly. There's a lot of theories out there as to what it can be about. What do you think it is? And I don't want to ask Juan this because I know what his answer is going to be, but what do you think it's about, Lewis?
I got my tinfoil hat.
I am positive that Juan and I will get into this later in the show. Like we're probably going to get into it. But anyway, I digress. It's not going to be on the same level as the Jakari rivalry, but it might get close. But anyway.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it.
He's paying attention to the chats.
So anyway, listen, as far as I'm concerned, the Dolphins being slow with free agency is exactly what I was expecting from the get-go. I never expected them to come out and just go out guns blazing, getting ready to sign every free agent that comes loose. Like, it's always fun when they do that. Every year we get excited because of this new guy and this new guy and this new guy. Like, let's be real about something. We looked at the Ndamukong Suh signing all those years ago, and while we were saying, oh my God, that's a lot of money for a defensive tackle, the other part of our brain that was really excited was like, yeah, Ndamukong Suh. Let's be real about that for a second there, because he's the best defensive tackle in football at the time. So now here we are with a new regime with Brian Flores, and he said from the straight, right off the bat, there's never going to be a moment where it's like, we're going to go out there and sign everybody. They're going to focus on their own, developing their own players, drafting their own guys. And so you have a situation where this is what you're getting. This is the new way of Miami doing things. They're not going to go out there and overpay for guys that they don't necessarily need. And when I say necessarily need, I'm not saying that Miami doesn't need to improve the wide receiver core. I'm saying that it's not quite as dire as we've made it out to be. And the only reason I say that right now is because of one man who sat out in 2020 not because of injury reasons, but because of COVID-19, Albert Wilson. The question was, is he healthy? I don't know how anybody can ask that question legitimately right now. Is he healthy? Yes, he's been sitting there for 2 years. I'm sure he's healthy by now. The only question is he in shape? Hopefully he'll be able to get back into that really quick, because there's never been any indication from Miami that they're going to move on from him or they're going to cut him or do anything of those sorts. So I want to see what he can do in training camp before that they can move on. So yes, I know I don't have a hat. I never received a hat. I need to ask for a hat. but that's going to be during the next shipment. Thank you for pointing that out. And as for Kai, you said his name on the radio. You said his name on the radio. You have to put respect on his name. Yes, now he has to say it.
In case, Alfredo, I'm sure you're in the note, but Chris, obviously you can get from context, 19 is Jakeem Grant. Juan and Kai have taken a personal vendetta against him and decided not to say his name. I am still of the reasoning that I think he could be useful to this team as a return man and maybe a last wide receiver. Chris, Alfredo, what do you guys think? Do you think he should stay on the team?
I don't think you should refrain from using the name. I think you should refrain from using that number because
that number is cursed.
That number with Ted Ginn
comes, you cannot have any team.
If we can't even make Brandon Marshall work really well, then that number is cursed. And so, get it out of the, put it up in the Ring of Honor so that the Ring of Dishonor. Yeah, so that we don't ever have to have that again.
So then I'll ask Juan. Juan, you call Kenny Golladay Babytron, which we have argued about. I think it's silly. It's nothing more than the uniform. If Babytron wore 19, do you think he could overcome the curse?
Oh no! If Kenny Golladay is getting signed, then we need Jakeem to stay on the team. We need him to pull a Devon Best and say, "I'm not letting go of this number. This number is sacred to me." I think he has like a necklace. If he has a tattoo of 19, even better. But no, Kenny Golladay cannot have 19. We need him to have a new number. Absolutely,
jump on the grenade. That's what he has to do.
100%.
Exactly, Alfredo.
$4 million for that.
Alfredo and Chris, I'll ask you guys because you guys are a little bit more in tune with some of these sources and all these things like that. So there were players that were rumored to be linked with the Dolphins. Aaron Jones.
Every player was linked to
a lot of them, but not everyone. Like Aaron Jones was one of them, right? He got snatched up really quickly by Green Bay. There were other players that have gone off the market that had been attached to Miami. Do you guys think Miami just didn't bid for them and they went somewhere else, or did Miami get outbid?
I think on Aaron Jones, I think that was very, very real. And I don't know if it was just really driven by a really good PR campaign by his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. But if you see the deal that he got from Green Bay, it's essentially what he was hoping to get out there in free agency. I wouldn't say it's every dollar, but it does put him right there at the top of the second tier of running backs. So, yeah, I believe that the Aaron Jones thing.
What's the matter, Juan? Why did you have a little meltdown there?
Mr. Ben, not Michael. We can talk about Michael, but Mr. Ben's comment next just completely I can't even respond to that.
It's sent him. I'll let Alfredo finish and then we'll get to Michael.
Sorry, Alfredo.
All the other wide receivers that have been linked to Miami, there's really been no evidence that this regime, at least in the last 2 years, caused a bunch of noise and then actually follow through with that noise. Sometimes they tend to surprise you. So I wouldn't say that, any of that is real, but I do believe that the Aaron Jones thing was real and it just didn't realize.
I was all aboard that Aaron Jones train. So I was real sad on Sunday when I got that notification he got signed by Green Bay. I think he would have been a good fit. We can go around. Do we think he would have been a good fit? I mean, at this point, it kind of looks like we have to go to the draft for our next starting running back, right? Chris, Juan, Lewis, whichever one of you guys wants to jump in.
I was looking up to see if that one comment from JJ Maciel was true or not, but I don't see any news regarding Hudson to Arizona yet. So
it's not JJ's messing around.
My dream's still alive here.
That's a good dream to have.
Oh, wait, no, I take it back. Mike Garofalo just reported it that they're trading him to the Cardinals for a swap of picks.
Well, there's other centers out there.
The Dolphins were not going to be in on that, period. I don't think that was ever in the offing.
A man can dream, Chris. Top offensive lineman players, like why?
And another man who actually has the hat can shoot down those dreams.
It's the hat
that was never going to happen. Aaron Jones, I'm not sure how serious they were about that because I think they were probably only serious because the franchise tag level was so low, less than $9 million. And so that your negotiations are usually somewhat tethered to that value. And so, they had to look at it as, well, we either use a first round pick or we can pay $9 million. And that's kind of equivalent.
Yeah.
So I think that they probably had to be involved. They probably, I doubt that they were involved to the numbers that Green Bay ended up giving them. And I think he probably made the no-brainer call to go back to Green Bay. I think I'd be surprised if the Dolphins have been involved in any of the signings that have gone to other teams, with large contract values. I still think that there's something else going on here. I think that there's they have been involved with some of the wide receivers, perhaps, but I also know that those wide receivers are getting offers that are like really disappointing to them.
All of them.
And a lot of them are like, Juju, and, I've heard things about what Kenny Golladay is going through and what Juju is going through right now. I don't know about Curtis Samuel, whether he's disappointed with any offers or not, but I think the wide receivers are suffering a little bit. And Miami, listen, if you were a wide receiver and you're going into free agent, then there's one team that you're leaking about, and that's the Miami Dolphins, because they were one of probably 10 teams in free agency that even had money at all. Right. They need a receiver. Everybody knows that they need receivers. So they're number one on the board for everybody, for every agent, basically, of a wide receiver. So if you heard all that Miami connected with all these wide receivers, that's why. But they're expecting offers from Miami, and it sounds like they haven't gotten them.
I just wanted to interject.
Except for one guy. You know who we bid high on? John Ross for like $2 million.
That's so much money.
That's high. That's high.
Yeah, so that's it. But that's it. So if that doesn't tell you what their mindset is and what they're doing, I think that's sort of what we have to take from it.
And that's a guy that Lewis last year.
That's what I was about to interject. The comment just there that the Cardinals gave up a third rounder.
I just think I think everybody saw the Calvin Noy release, and they kind of expected that money to either go somewhere or to be allocated.
It did. Bernard McKinney.
Then where did Shaq Lawson's money go?
Exactly.
That's a different question.
They offered it. They offered it to John Ross. Before we get into anything else, I do want to say thank you again to Michael Vowell. He gave super chat of $2. He says, "What does this frugal spending mean for 22 cap? I am not an expert on cap situation, so I will let anybody else take that."
I mean, it's fairly simple. The Miami Dolphins are going to have people they need to re-sign next season, and they're going to need money to do that. Now, the question is, depending on who they draft in this upcoming draft, that's going to make a difference in who they decide to bring back. I know the whole Kyle Pitts situation. If we draft Kyle Pitts, all due respect to Mike Gesicki, there is literally no reason to pay him a big contract. You let him walk and let somebody else pay him, because Kyle Pitts does what Gesicki does and then some. Or let's say you decide that you want to go and maybe another linebacker emerges, then you can maybe try to see if you can upgrade from Jerome Baker. But either way, you're going to have people that you need to bring back, and that's going to cost money. And we know the cap is probably going to go up, like 99%. It's going to skyrocket back up again, because that's just kind of how the NFL is. It always ends up going up, not so much down. It took a worldwide pandemic for the NFL to lose cap space. So I doubt anything else, barring something like that, would cause it to go down again. So
the TV money deal is going to make it go up.
Yeah,
they're saying projected like 2-3 years.
It's gonna go back up. So you have you're gonna. I don't buy the Davion Howard thing, Michael. I don't. Davion Howard is fine. He's gonna play out that contract. We heard one thing from Armando Salguero about him wanting more money, and ever since then, crickets. Nothing. Nada. Not from his agent, not from the player, not from the coaches, nobody. So that's agents.
What do you
nothing.
Let me ask you guys, what do you guys think about that Justin Coleman signing? Do you guys think it's anything for need him, or just strictly just a cheap player that kind of take advantage of it?
I think it's an audition. It's an audition.
It's bottom of the roster stuff. He's not even a special teams player. Like I was telling you guys before we went on the air, I watched some special team snaps of him this year and punt coverage
on special teams.
Yeah, and he's first of all, he's not good at it, and second of all, they take away snaps from him in Detroit, so he's not a special teams player. So he's not here for special teams.
He's here to be the slot cornerback.
Yeah, he's here to push Nick Needham, and if he pushes them to better play, great. If he's better than Nick Needham, even better. Then I guess
you keep Nick Needham anyway
down the road.
You keep him anyway. We need depth. We always end up needing extra corners.
He's fairly cheap, right? I mean that contract came in a little bit lower than I would imagine. I mean, if you look at his past contract, he got paid.
Yeah. Patriots connection.
Yeah, this new contract came in pretty cheap, and this is a Josh Boyer pet. I mean, that's what he is, and I was told that by a scout. Like, this is a Josh Boyer guy. So I think that that's what it is. If you look at between Boyer and Butler, really, in terms of what they want on the defense, the technique that they want, and the familiarity that these players have with that technique. I mean, they're good with exactly what the Dolphins want in their defensive players. And it kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit, just because I know that both of these guys can play. Like, they can both step in and start 16 games, or be big parts of the rotation in 16 games. Whereas the Dolphins do have people in front of them that are in place to do exactly that too. And it makes me kind of wonder if some of those higher profile names might be available.
Yeah.
And so you never know.
We are now, I just wanted to jump in. We are now at about, I think, 3 minutes from the official start of the new league year. It is 3 minutes to 4 o'clock. Before that happens, I did also want to say thanks to Lee Connolly. He donated 3 of a currency that I think it's the euro.
Pounds.
Oh, is it pounds? Okay, I don't know the difference. I'm sorry. I'm very American in that sense. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's just is what it is. But I did also want to say, this show has 2 sponsors specifically: Miami Grill, which you can see on Juan's screen. He's got the little bag in the back. He got some,
and they hooked it up with a cup.
And they hooked him up with a cup. And
what's
we're
your
also
order,
sponsored by
Juan?
Louis Peters. Ooh, look at those wings.
I got some wings and some fries,
wait,
bro.
Wait, go back. What is that one? You guys got to say it right. Is it gyros or euros?
It's a euro.
Ooh.
Do I have to pronounce it?
You have to. Everybody's got to do it.
Gyro.
It's a euro.
I'm
It's a euro.
I'm gonna call it a
euro step.
Gosh, don't do that. Don't do that to me, Chris. Blame Alfredo. Leave it with Alfredo, please. My ego can't take it yet. But yeah, we're sponsored by Miami Grill and Louis Peters. He has an agency. He's the agency representing the #1 auto and home insurer in the United States. He also offers other products. There's a contact information for him. Do not be afraid to reach out to Louis. He is going to try to give you the best deals possible. As I got through all that kind of ranting, we are now 1 minute away. We got another donation from Michael Vowell. Opinion on standing Ogba up as a true edge.
So he doesn't have his hand in the dirt. He's standing up and attacking from there.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Alfredo, you've been our yard work guy. What do you think about that?
Well, he played wide a lot last year, but most of his pressures came on twists and games. So, I don't think that that's something that they really necessarily want to look at. I think they want, the guy that they designated last year as a guy who had to win one-on-one coming wide was Andrew Van Ginkel. And he did his job because his job is just to get upfield and occupy a tackle. So then they could run all their little stunts inside, and which is essentially just Christian Wilkins grabbing people and linebackers running.
Those are veteran techniques, okay? That's crafts of the trade.
So I don't think that that's something that it's in the near future, I would say. They're not going to flip-flop positions between Ogba and Van Ginkel.
I mean, but the pass rush is looking a lot different this year. We lost our 3rd and 5th highest sack getters. Granted, most of Kyle Van Noy's sacks came in that one game against the Bengals, and then the rest were kind of spread out throughout the rest of the year.
And Andrew Van Ginkel, I feel like we're underestimating him. Like, he came on pretty darn strong, and I think that
Vince Beagle too.
Yeah, Vince Beagle had a decent end to the year before. I'm not saying he's going to fill the whole
ABG. Really tough injury. I mean, that's one that's hard to come back from. Cam Wake came back from it, but Cam Wake is superhuman. Okay,
Cam Wake hasn't played for a while. Actually, did he retire finally?
I think he's gone. He's probably skiing in the Alps, somewhere right now. That's his thing. But yeah, I think that it's kind of tough to count on Vince Beagle the way you might want to. So we'll just have to see about it. But honestly, yeah, I agree with you about Andrew Van Ginkel. I mean, obviously he was very effective in what they asked him to do, and they're going to have him flip around probably and assume some more roles. But there's still a lot of space there. There's still a lot of space there, a lot of snaps that haven't been taken yet. And so we're going to see how that shakes out. As for, if you just want my 2 cents on Emmanuel Ogba standing up, I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think that he's always been a guy that you want, even coming out of the draft, you want his hand in the dirt and almost a wide 9 type of technique. And I think that Miami found kind of the right mix with him, asking him to do things. It didn't look very good at first in the season, but you know, they really started to get a feel for one another. So I wouldn't change it, or if you do, you could stand to be disappointed.
Yeah. I want to address Richard. Thank you, Richard, very much for the $5 dono. He said, do you expect the Dolphins to draft O-line and D-line early and wait until later rounds for skill positions given front office philosophy? Personally, I don't think that's what they're going to do with this year's draft, considering the holes they have to fill. But Kai, you just joined us. Why don't you take a crack at this one?
Can I derail something for a second, or should I?
Here we go. I know what he's going to say. Here we go.
First of all,
Jakeem Grant is like wanting Deshaun Watson. He can't get off of it.
No. First of all, CK, nice to see you. Love the hat. Alf, nice to see you. Love the hat. Juan, nice to see you. Love the hat. Michael, nice hat. Lewis,
yo, listen.
I love that you're back.
Where's your hat, Kai?
Wait a minute.
I gave it to my father because my father wears.
I got a fro.
Okay.
And I have a fro. Look at this. Are you kidding me? You think a hat can go on this beautiful hair?
I'm going to interrupt you and say thank you to Daniel for the $4.99 because thanking him is more important than your terrible rant right now.
No, I just wanted to I hope that they draft O-line. Obviously, a lot of us have some people that we really like, and also on the defensive line. I don't know. I would rather
in the comments Manscaped. That's insane.
Yeah, you see that? 20%. Yeah, look at it. No, but I hope that they do. I would love to see them actually address those positions. At first, when it came to free agency, I was quite upset with how things were being kind of handled and how things were happening until I kind of took a step back. By took a step back, I mean had Omar Kelly yell at me on Onside Radio, and then
I heard that.
Then I was like, oh, you know what? It's kind of right. I would rather them not go out there and spend money. I also that John Ross stuff. Oh my god, if we paid John Ross to just be another 19 on this team, that would have been frustrating.
What, you wouldn't have paid him $2 million?
What do you have
to be
taken
another 19? I would take him over 19. 19 can't catch.
I'd pay him $2 million to take the jersey.
Oh, for sure.
Yo,
19 can't catch, man. There's no supporting that. I don't know how you can stay on that train, Lewis.
As Lewis rolls his eyes.
I stay on the train that he's a weapon. If you don't want him as a pure
weapon
wide receiver,
that can't catch?
If you change his number, he's going to be fine.
If he was a running back.
You give it to John Ross, that's $2 million well spent.
I feel like $2 million is such a small amount of money that I'm fine giving that $2 million
to get rid
to whoever.
Of the pain? Oh, yeah.
And you say at least he had a punt return touchdown.
He has had several. He averages
once a year. You averages
once a year. You're gonna tell me, okay, but Lewis, you're gonna tell me never mind. I'm not.
Whenever he gets the ball in his hands, things happen. That's why I keep him.
I love the versatility here because you guys are talking about keeping or releasing 19, and I'm with my tinfoil already doing the math for 19 and getting rid of him, and it's just crazy to me.
Listen,
you're just looking for DW.
No, yeah, we know what you're doing the math for. I want to talk to somebody else about Deshaun Watson. Alfredo, do any of these moves that the Dolphins are making have anything to do with Deshaun Watson, in your opinion? Yes or no?
I'm just laughing at all our listeners doing Manscaped promos.
Time is not even here, guys.
20% off 5 hours, and you know what?
Can you use the ball toner on your head?
Yeah, I think so. I think that works. It tightens up your scalp, right? So you can
serious
better. So you have a cup of coffee, you put some ball toner on your head, and that's a great start to your day. But you asked me if this has anything to do with Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
It could be, but I think I made I put out the official 3 yards per carry line yesterday. And I wouldn't bet on Miami. If you notice, they were the second favorite. They're only the second favorite in my mind because they have the third pick. And the third pick is not as good as the second pick. So I made the Jets the natural favorites to get Deshaun Watson because they have the most to offer. They could just tell the Houston Texans, look, if you give us Deshaun Watson, the first asset that we put on in a package is going to be your choice of quarterback besides Trevor Lawrence. Next best would be Miami, of course. So, and then you just sweeten from there. Then Carolina, you're talking about, okay, is it 2 more first-round picks? Is it another great player? Is it a couple of second-round picks? Whatever. But it has to start there. So I wouldn't say it has anything much to do with it, but it has to. If they are talking, it has something to do with it.
All I'm going to
just say something real quick. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I hate getting texts and then I have to figure out, is this public or not? like I have to do a Twitter search because like somebody tells me a number and a name, and I'm like, okay. I do think the Dolphins are going to get David Andrews. I'll just say that.
Well, I mean, Ted Karras already went back to New England, so that's pretty much takes care of Andrews. Most of the interest is coming from Miami anyway. So yeah, now that Hudson's gone and Karras is in New England,
this will be a big one though.
You're gonna say that it's a big contract for this guy?
Well, I mean, it's bigger than what we've been talking about.
Okay, so is that a mistake? Because I've been told by some people have said that Andrews is really good. I've seen other Patriots guys say that he's a little bit better than Karras at best. So what's the story?
Well, I'm just saying that so far we've talked about how they've been trimming at the edges, like all these tiny little contracts and stuff like that. This will probably be the first real piece of steak on the plate. So
the biggest contract they've given out so far is the Adam Butler contract, right?
Jacoby
2 years,
Brissett,
$9.5 million.
Jacoby
was 1 year, 7.5. I think.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know if
he's you spanned it out over 2 years.
But
I don't
know.
I'd be interested to see.
Take it.
Anyway.
I'd be interested to see. The Dolphins haven't officially made any moves yet, though. Not that I can see.
Oh, right, of course.
The only thing that I wanted to say regarding the Deshaun Watson thing, this has been my issue from day one. I still see it being an issue. And Kai and I talked about it a while back when we were on Onside Radio together. Let's look at this from this perspective. Chicago apparently reportedly offered 3 first-rounders, 1 third-rounder, 2 starting players, all for Russell Wilson. And the Seahawks said, nah, that's not enough. So can you imagine for Deshaun Watson, who is arguably better than Russell Wilson, if that's the baseline for somebody not as good as Deshaun Watson, you're basically going to have to give up your whole roster in your next 3 draft classes to get your hands on this guy. So that's been my biggest issue all along, is that what are you going to have to give up to get this guy?
All right, Louis. So there's a couple things to kind of unload off of there, right? So the first thing is comparing it to Russell Wilson. I think that situation is a little bit different, more so because Deshaun Watson has very adamantly said he does not want to play for the Texans.
Right.
Russell has already said, I'm not looking for a trade, but he also has given a list of teams he would go get traded for. So there is a little bit of similarity there. I'll give you that. But you're talking about with Deshaun Watson, he's 25. You're talking about a 6-year difference. You're probably going to get 2, maybe even 3 contracts out of him in his age. And Deshaun's pushing to get out. I don't see Russell really pushing yet to get out. I feel like that's more of the Matthew Stafford situation where it took maybe a year and a half to kind of simmer before he actually got his way to get out.
Given the way that the Texans are running their operation, I would not put it past them to be stubborn about this and sit his tail down.
Are they really running an operation though, or just kind of staying?
They're running a bodega
right now it feels as ghetto as you can get for the NFL. Like that stuff is horrific.
That's how they're running the franchise. So yes, they're running the operation. They're running it into the ground, but they're running it. If you're going to
trade for a quarterback, you'd rather trade for a quarterback that's currently out of bodega where you can get him for cheaper than the high-end store. Right?
How much cheaper?
What? Maybe 1 pick cheaper. I don't know. I think you have a shot at it. I think that's all it is. But, okay, the Dolphins haven't made any of these signings official yet. I don't think many teams have. But there are a few players that did leave the team in terms of the agreements and the rumors that are out there. So, Kamu Grugier-Hill is no longer with the team. Devon Gottschalk, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Matt Hawk, Ted Karras. Is there anybody that we miss from that list? The only one that I kind of
there's one important on that list.
Kamu. I miss Grugier-Hill because I think he was a good addition for special teams. And I liked when he played through with, what was it, he broke something and didn't he continue playing in the game?
Well, with the ukulele was magical in training.
Yeah, and I mean the Ohana thing, that was a bit of the Hawaii.
It's not Ohana anymore.
Ohana's gone. Ohana's gone.
Tinfoil hat. Anybody? Is there anybody that
whole segment? Listen, me and Sean had a whole segment last week about how they changed it from Ohana. It's just fins up, and we learned that Ohana is business. The Dolphins are doing business right now, right? That's why
you're really stretching for that one, Kai. But I'm going to go to Alfredo for some actual stuff that isn't too much stressing. Kai, what was that?
I'm going to miss Matt Hawk. I like Matt Hawk.
No, I'm not going to miss Matt Hawk. I'm
Good
not.
guy.
That's the first thing I
him
wanted
with
to
another
say.
lefty punter.
I know, but
Yeah.
the first thing I wanted to say is that I was so happy that they addressed the punter position. I was so happy.
Okay,
Like,
I was
He
just
wasn't
shocked,
the
though.
worst punter in the world. Louis.
No, but Matt Hawk had
he
one
just shanked it every time we needed
Yeah,
him.
he was
I'm not the
inconsistent.
worst punter.
He was
either.
Hold on.
inconsistent, but he wasn't the
No,
worst punter in the
no.
world.
Matt Hawk had one specific game that stood out to me as pretty bad.
Yes,
That game
the
was
Mountaineer
against
shot, that's
Buffalo,
it.
and Buffalo's like, "Hey, you
They
look
gave him
like
a
the guy we
3-year
want on
deal.
our team to kick
To
in
be
the cold."
fair,
I was very confused by that.
who had a good game that game?
Nobody.
But
Exactly,
the
so-
punter shaking it, and then you're like, "Let's take him in." That just felt a little
3-year
weird.
deal, and they let their punter go, and their punter has
Wait, didn't Hawk go
Or- I don't know
to
his name
Buffalo or Jets? Who did he go to?
Buffalo.
Did he go?
Buffalo.
He went to
Oh,
Buffalo.
great. We're gonna see him twice a year. Gonna be like Dan can't. What was the Dan Carpenter? That's what the kicker
Yeah.
was. Did the same thing.
No.
Mhm.
Oh,
By the
love
way,
that.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but pretty big signing, really under the
Damn.
radar. The
Uh-oh.
Bills
That was
got, I think the Bills upgraded
Huh.
John
Oh,
Brown.
Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah.
Yes, by getting Emmanuel Sanders, at least for 1 year. Because
Yeah,
first
if
of
they-
all,
and if-
John Brown.
If they
Brown
trade
is
for
a little
Zach
bit-
Ertz too.
Yeah, John Brown is a little bit one-dimensional, but he's also really injured all the time. Emmanuel Sanders is durable and a complete player, coming off of a really, really good year last year in New Orleans. So Buffalo's offense just got a little scary.
So Buffalo, we can say improved this offseason so far from the signings.
Every
The
team in the
Patriots
AFC
improved.
has
The
improved.
Jets, the Jets are still such a dumpster fire of an organization. They're right there. They're like next door to the bodega. Whatever one step up is from that. Oh, they're Kmart, if Kmart even exists anymore. Right? So they're like
Is it
just
Kmart?
right there. But the
Is it
Dolphins have
Scotty's?
Did
What?
we just give Kmart free sponsors right now? Or
Does anybody remember Scotty's? Like
What is
hardware
Scotty's?
store? Okay, no. Okay, that's just me.
CK, I think
Sorry.
you just aged yourself, B.
Yeah, you really did.
I did. I just got older on screen.
Just put the hat a little bit lower. We won't notice.
Yeah.
You should have said like Woolworths or something like that.
What is Woolworths?
Yo, you guys are making stuff up. You guys are making words up at this
These are
point.
real- Are these like department stores? It's like, what are we
Was this
doing?
before Publix or Piggly
Yeah.
Wiggly or whatever?
Yeah, like Lums.
Service merchandise.
You guys
Anybody?
probably used to shop at
Yes.
Eckerd's a lot, huh?
Best. Nobody knows that Best ended up folding into Burdines, then got spun back out as Best, and then turned into Best Buy.
Richard Will says that he was in a local Scotty's commercial. I just have to say that.
Hey,
There's no way.
That's
What is
fantastic.
it?
That's phenomenal.
I've never even heard of
Oh,
Scotty's.
I really hope that's true. I
There's
really
a
hope that's true.
huge like age divide. You can draw a line right next to Alfredo and CK and go this way, and it's just we have no idea what you
That's
guys are
rough.
talking about.
The jokes
That's
are
rough.
just going straight over our head.
Oh man! But have the Dolphins improved? Can we say the Dolphins have improved so far with what's happened?
Somebody argued no. I would say yes. It's just that it's not a big improvement. When you're adding depth players at a lower cost, well, when you improve the depth, you are improving the team, because there's an old saying that says that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if you strengthen the weakest link, then when things start to go wrong, you're not going to be quite as vulnerable. There were times last season when we end up having to throw people in there, and once they get in there, it was obviously that was the weak spot, and they attacked it, and we suffered for it. So if you can improve those weak spots, not necessarily by getting a brand new starter. Getting a brand new starter is more expensive, but if you can get better backups so that the weakness is not so much there anymore, then they are able to move forward from that perspective. And believe me, free agency is only the first half of the equation. People keep forgetting that we have a whole draft to go to, and assuming other things don't happen. But I always want, this is why I keep saying I want the saga to be over with, because I want to know how we're going to build this roster. So for now, I'm going off the assumption that Tua is still the quarterback for 2021 and beyond. So if you have 2 first-round draft picks that we are looking at, you have potentially Jalen Waddle, who would instantly be a boon to that wide receiver room. Or you could get Devonta Smith, same deal. Jamar Chase, same deal. Or you can go on the offensive line side. I know Penei Sewell, a lot of folks really want to get their hands on him. He would instantly shore up that offensive line. And then you can maybe get Kadarius Toney in the second round if you wanted to. There's going to be a running
No
back.
way he hits the second round. No
Oh,
chance.
Don't tell Kai that.
I'm just letting you know. There's no shot, man.
Well, I don't know, man.
shocked.
Listen, I don't know.
Impossible.
Do you know how many? Do you know this is a ridiculously deep wide receiver class. And by the way, that's why
Listen, if he hits the second round, I'm jumping all over that.
He may hit the second round just because there's too many wide receivers to go around. That's what I'm thinking.
But this wide receivers class, the wide receivers class is always deep. You're always going to find. I mean, the college puts out playmakers. They put out guys that can catch the ball, that can run really fast, that can look really good on film.
And no one wants to be a running back anymore. Everybody wants to be a wide receiver.
It doesn't. I mean, you have to just to even be mediocre or in the NFL. You have to be a playmaker. And these guys come out. There's a bunch of them every year. I don't know about how deep or how special this receiver class is. I think there are some special guys toward the top. But if you're trying to count on second, third round guys, you better keep in mind those percentages because you're going to get disappointed more than not. And so I think that you can't really count down there. It's always going to be deep. I mean, as for the question, did we get better? Hey, we lost Shaq Lawson and Kyle Van Noy, and we replaced them with Benardrick McKinney. I don't. That's one, and in my book, I saw two. So, we lost Harris and literally haven't replaced him yet. As of yet, have they gotten better? No, of course not. They lost more players than they've gained. I mean, they've gained a couple of guys around the edges.
Okay, but that's kind of taking the question a little bit literally, though.
Well, no, but that's not right now. They haven't made any other moves.
Right. They haven't replaced guys they cut away yet. Okay, yeah, we get that. No, they haven't gotten better. From that
You saw that too, Juan.
Question is a question, isn't it?
Okay, but that's kind of taking it a little literally, don't you think?
Well, that's the point we're at right now because we can't assume anything moving forward. I'll throw it Go ahead. Juan.
My thing is, it just seems like everything's on standby, especially with the wide receiver room. It just feels like everybody's just waiting for something to fall. Yeah. And obviously, I'm the one talking, so you know what domino I'm thinking is gonna fall. But I don't know. It just feels like everybody's just in kind of standby and see, and we'll see.
Did you just see the big rigs?
Yeah, we just saw it. Me and Kai were laughing about it. Like,
CK really likes it. Alfredo, do you think they improved so far with the moves they've done?
I thought you were going to ask me if I drive big rigs.
Do you drive big rigs? And when you drive those big rigs, do you record 3 yards per carry?
I have driven a tractor before.
Live from the road, it's Alfredo with 3 yards per carry. I'm pulling up to a truck stop. 1 second.
Yeah. So what was the question again?
Do you think they improved? Do you think the Dolphins are better so far with the moves they've made?
So you have two perspectives. The perspective where I look at the guys we brought in, or CK's perspective, which is we haven't replaced the guys we cut yet. So no,
but we haven't, even with the guys that we brought in.
Well, hypothetically, if that edge player is coming and it comes in the form of, who knows, maybe KJ Wright finds its way here. And then all we did was really get older by getting rid of 2 younger guys, but maybe 2 better guys. So, I think that if that edge player comes and it comes before the draft in the form of a free agent signing, then yeah, I would say that they improved just in the sense that I believe that David Andrews is an upgrade over Ted Karras, although a slight upgrade. Like I said earlier, he's like putting luxury mats in your new car.
But we don't have them yet.
The
Dolphins officially announced the Benardrick McKinney trade.
Okay, they're a little late on that.
Obviously, but they're
a little late on that.
I'm just trying to add the official announcement. Jeez,
do we want to talk about how late they were on the offensive coordinator announcement? Because that took about 2 months.
That still hasn't really even officially come yet. If we're being honest,
Jakar really trying to show off that Miami girl bag.
At least someone has the bag.
Hey, you know what? Get a hat, you people. Get a 5 Reasons hat. That's the club I'm riding with.
I gave it to my father. Shout out my father. He's got
so in a roundabout way, I can say that they're on their way to improving, but they haven't improved the team yet.
Sure. So I think we can all agree that I'll let you take this one, CK. Is the Andrews deal close? Do you have any idea if it's close? What can we expect with that one?
No, I've been given a number. I don't know if it's close though. That just means that I have an idea of what they're offering for it. But but that doesn't mean he's taking it. I know that, it was kind of New England or Miami, and New England went ahead and signed Ted Karras. And Karras says it's because he couldn't wait. He couldn't wait for other dominoes to fall. So I think the writing is probably on the wall a little bit, but you never know. I mean, some other team could jump right in there and just match, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, we don't have him. So So it would be, if we get him, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the things that we're talking about are on hold. Just because, hey, we have a major starting position with 1,000 snaps that need to go somewhere, and maybe they need this to happen first before some other things can happen. I don't think it would put everything on hold, but it's going to be, this would be a significant acquisition if they got David Andrews.
Okay. So I'll ask you guys then, and we can just go around, just because it hasn't happened yet. I think the Dolphins are going to make at least one signing that is pretty significant from a dollar standpoint and from the skill of the player, right? Who would you guys guess is that one player? Or if you guys have an educated guess based on inside information or whatever it is, who do you guys think that one player is going to be if the Dolphins do make a big move like that? We'll start with you, Jakari, since you just hopped in.
I would have said Galladay, but it looked like Galladay has signed with the Giants. But to be honest,
say Beckham. You know you want it.
Yeah. I love Odell Beckham, but a player that I think we're not talking about enough would be Curtis Samuel. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I think he brings everything you need to the team. You get him to play running back. You can put him at slot receiver. He's a matchup nightmare with his speed in general, and he's a playmaker on just on the offense in general. Like, you can't even say what position. He's just a playmaker. So I think that would be the best term signing. I know a lot of people like Juju Smith-Schuster, but I think Curtis Samuels brings more to the offense than Juju Smith-Schuster would.
More because he can do more? Or I guess my question then is, does he play the wide receiver position as well as Juju does? Because I know that Curtis Samuel is a lot more versatile, but does Curtis Samuel play the wide receiver position better than, which I forgot which one I said, but Juju versus Curtis Samuel?
So it just depends on what you want in a receiver. Now, if you're looking for a guy that's going to get down and dirty, Juju Smith-Schuster is your guy because he's not scared. He will go across the middle. He does have a little bit run after catch ability. It's not as explosive as Curtis Samuels.
True.
It's not as explosive, but he does do a lot of the things you would want. And one thing that people are not counting with Juju Smith, he will bring that fire. One thing I do like about Juju Smith-Schuster, he plays hard. He's an energy guy. He's going to be out there on the field. He's a dog. Like, we haven't had that since Jarvis Landry at receiver, where he was the toughest player on the team. Versus Curtis Samuel, where you can just line him up at running back. You get some. You can use him sort of how the Chiefs use Tyreek Hill, because he does have that speed. Not on Tyreek Hill's level, but he has that home run speed where you can jet sweeps, a lot of orbit motions, lining them up in the slot, doing a lot of tricky stuff with him. So just getting him the ball in space would be the main game with him. So he's a touches guy, and you can use him however you see fit in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer my wide receivers to TikTok on opponents' logos. That's just the way I like to do things. It sounds fantastic to me. Alfredo, I know you've been a big fan of Juju. Do you think that you would prefer Juju over Curtis Samuel, or would you take Curtis Samuel because he's probably going to be cheaper?
If he is cheaper, then I think that represents value, because Curtis Samuel is a more complete player than Juju Smith-Schuster. But I like Juju Smith-Schuster for the fit and for what will fit Tua, and that's a security blanket on third down, a guy that can convert
in the slot,
from the slot, and another red zone weapon, which is, anything that to help Tua Tagovailoa is a good thing for me this offseason. Curtis Samuel is I completely agree with Jakari. He's a touches guy. He's a guy that your offensive coordinator, when he gets into his office on Monday morning, says, okay, how do I get the ball into his hands at least 10 times this Sunday? And I think his best football is still ahead of him. So either one would be an exciting signing, I think.
Yeah, I think any wide receiver at this point would be pretty exciting. I know that one guy that Kai was really looking forward to the Dolphins potentially signing, because you were banging the table for him. You wanted Corey Linsley. That didn't happen. Now it looks like it's David Andrews. Is that a good enough kind of if we do get him, if that works out, is that a good enough replacement for you?
I mean, we needed an upgrade at center. I saw someone I've been trying to. I have all these things. I'm looking at TweetDeck trying to find stuff and all this other stuff. But I saw someone mention. I think it was this comment. I don't know how true that is. I would like to probably pull up NFL Network myself and see if that's true. Obviously, I don't have sources, but like that would kind of be a stinger to have Corey Linsley sign with the Chargers. Rodney Hudson gets straight to the Cardinals. You lose Ted Karras, and then you also lose out on David Andrews. Like that's where you now, instead of going into the draft, hopefully drafting like maybe BPA or getting someone younger and having that older center, whoever it is, helping him out along the road. Now you have to make sure and go get that guy like a Creed Humphrey, like a Landon Dickerson, or whoever it is that you're looking at to grab. You need to go out and grab them because we're not going to have another situation where Daniel Kilgore is our starting center again. That can't happen.
Ouch.
Ooh, Marquise Goodwin. If this is true, if Marquise Goodwin got released, I'd be on board for Marquise Goodwin. I know he brings some speed to the table. I mean, I don't think that deal would be very expensive. Chris, what do you think about possibly Marquise Goodwin now that he's reportedly been cut? I mean, that's just based on this comment, but I would believe it.
Well, a couple of things. One, the Dolphins already reportedly, obviously unconfirmed, we're in on John Ross for
that would have been a great
$1 million. Well, I mean that's something that they need, and it's obvious that they've identified that need, the speed, and not just any speed, but like speed, and I think
CK, I don't mean to cut you, but Marlon Mack back to the Colts, 1 year, $2 million deal.
Hurts. It hurts. It hurts a lot. I know that. That hurts. Anyway, so the speed deal with John Ross, they were interested. I know that they were doing work on Damiere Byrd. I was, using that name for a reason. He's another 4.2 guy. Marquise Goodwin is obviously world-class speed. So if they've identified this need for that, then who knows? They're just probably going to blanket everybody that runs a 4.2, or runs in the 4.2s. So I wouldn't be surprised if they sniffed at it. I would be a little concerned, what this guy is saying about the New England Patriots getting David Andrews back anyway, even after they've signed Ted Karras. That would suck. I know it's going to have to be for a pretty significant number, though. So, hopefully that doesn't happen. There are some options available still. I think that the guy coming out of Kansas City, Austin Ryder, is a pretty good center. I knew him in college, back when he was at USF, and so I think he'd be a good addition. But I really feel like you'd probably want to make sure you get David Andrews here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past the Patriots to throw more money at the situation because it looks like there's nothing worse than a Bill Belichick scorned. Tom Brady wins one championship and he throws all the money in the world at every single player available. But I am going to go ahead now and transition it to Alfredo. I'll still be here for the next 30 minutes, but Alfredo, you're going to take it away for the next hour as host. I am looking forward to whatever questions you're going to ask because I am sure they will be more insightful than mine. So, Alfredo, you can take the show from here, my friend.
And, of course, we're brought to you by Lewis Peters State Farm, the #1 auto and home insurer in the United States. 60 years of experience. You can reach them at 305-275-5585. Access 24/7. You can walk in, call in, click in. Lewis Peters will get you your quote for your auto or home insurance. All right, so free agency is officially about 30 minutes old, but we've seen what has transpired, and we're just going to briefly spend like the next 10 minutes around the league, and then we're going to get right back into the Dolphins. So first question, who's won free agency? Who has the trophy right now? I know the answer, but tell me why. And I'll start with my podcast mate, Chris.
I wasn't paying attention. What were you saying?
Is this what it's like running through YPC? Is this? I'm surprised I haven't heard this yet on any of the shows. Huh? What's it again, Alf?
He was checking for his next Manscaped order.
So we'll start with Michael then.
What's up through YPC?
I mean, for me, the winners of free agency has to be, I got to go with the Patriots. I know they threw a lot of money out there and everybody always says, oh, so much guaranteed money doesn't equate to wins. And it doesn't always. But I feel like we've never seen Bill Belichick do that before. We've never seen that Patriots organization throw that much money out there before. And so I think he must have a really good plan in place if that's what he's doing. And there's something about Bill Belichick that I'm always going to be afraid of him until I get good reason to not be. There's just 20 years of PTSD with him completely owning our butts the entire time. So I'm going to go ahead and say they won free agency. They got a lot of good guys, and it looks like they might even still be getting more with how much money they had. So, yeah, my vote is New England Patriots.
Lewis,
you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. So, yeah, I was just going to say that once again, quite frankly, it's New England Patriots. They signed Jonnu Smith. They signed Hunter Henry. So they brought back their 2 wide receiver core, 2 tight end core. Sorry about that. They went ahead and they brought in another defensive tackle. They're bringing back another center. But this is Bill Belichick, the scorned ex, who's trying desperately to try to get back at his former partner. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl the first year he disappeared from New England. And all of a sudden, Belichick is like, whoa, hold on a second. You're about to take away my entire reputation. You're about to ruin my whole career. So I have to do everything I can to get back in the game. If that means spending every dollar this New England team has, then so be it. So they went ahead and seemingly brought in everybody. So I'd say they'd be the winners of free agency just on the simple fact they've signed more people than everybody else combined.
So, Jakar, are you going off the board, or is it New England also for you?
No, I got the Cardinals. The Cardinals have made some nice moves to help out Kyler Murray.
So you're saying the J.J. Watt and the A.J. Green thing?
J.J. Watt, A.J. Green. They just traded for Rodney Hudson. They just traded for Hudson. And that, last year they were a fringe playoff team, and they didn't have a pass rush because Chandler Jones went down early in the season. But you add Jones and you add Watt to rush the passer, and you solidify the offensive line with Rodney Hudson, and you add another weapon with AJ Green plus Christian Kirk that they have as well. So I think they're having a really great offseason. I know it's flying under the radar because the Patriots have made the big splash moves, but they have made moves to make them a playoff team. You add a guy to shore up your offensive line. You add another guy, AJ Green, to take some of the pressure off DeAndre Hopkins. And then you add J.J. Watt, who still has probably 2 or 3 good years left to pair with Chandler Jones to rush the passer. And quite frankly, the only thing's hurt their division, but I'm just like, it helps them because I see the Seahawks taking a toll down just because there's so much friction there. So I think they've added guys to make them a playoff team.
So now, Chris, I assume you know the question at hand. Who's won free agency?
Hold on, I'm tweeting.
What are you tweeting, CK?
I'm gonna give a little bit of love to our hated rival, the Jets. I think that they've done an all right job.
They won free agency over every other team.
I don't know. Well, listen. Who really wins free agency? But I think that they've made some smart moves. And go ahead, Jakar.
That's what I was saying with the Patriots. They won free agency, but let's be honest. Everybody on this panel has given me flack with the Cam Newton. Like, I know Cam has a lot to prove. Now, if we'll talk about Cam Newton coming off an MVP season, then we'll be like, okay, the Patriots are going back home. But it's still a question mark at the quarterback position, even though they've adding weapons, but it's still a question mark. Yeah. The biggest question mark they re-signed is the quarterback position in free agency. So that's why I don't agree. That's why I don't agree with them winning free agency.
They're gonna have a rookie and with Cam Newton, and I think that's what you're looking at. I think maybe even this Deshaun Watson stuff that is coming up all of a sudden. I suspect foul play with that, but I don't think they're really seriously looking at Deshaun Watson or able to get in position for that. I think that the Jets, though, whether they've won free agency or not, I mean, you look at it, Corey Davis is a solid receiver. That was a solid get. Gerard Davis is a solid linebacker that they think fits their system. And probably one of the jewels of free agency is really Carl Lawson. 25-year-old speed. He's not just a speed rusher; he's just a rusher that has speed. And I think that's that's a really smart move that they made, and I think that they're doing some pretty good things under this management and with this new head coach. So I'd kind of be on the watch for them.
Yeah, I would say I just to tidy up this segment right here, I would say that the Patriots did win free agency, and they won it in one sense. Well, now they have 2 of the top 5 highest paid tight ends. That's for a reason. And we were talking about this on the 3YPC chat. They're going to play a lot of 13 personnel now. They're going to really focus on that running game. They're going to try to force teams to play base defense against them. And that's going to simplify the game for Cam and his arm. So I think that's a vast improvement right there. Now, what did they lose? They lost Joe Thuney. That's a big loss. Marcus Cannon's a nice player. But I think that they've replaced him with Trent Brown. So they brought in a lot of talent. I just don't. The only one I don't understand is Jalen Mills. I don't think he's all that great of a player.
Yeah.
They give him a lot of money, and they're giving him money to play. He's not
But
there as just merely depth.
But they've earned their street cred with DBs. I think the Patriots have. I mean, they've earned it. A little bit of giving them a break on that one. I think.
Now, what I will say is that there's one obvious loser in all of this, and that's the Raiders seem to have. They've signed John Brown, but last year before the Dolphins played the Raiders, we talked about it on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast of how powerful and how strong their offensive line was, and how they just beat people up in the run game. And they decided, okay, our offensive line is kind of good, right? So let's just get rid of 4 of them, one after the other, back to back, for no apparent reason, and they haven't replaced any of them. So if there's one clear loser, it has to be the Raiders. They went from a good offensive line to missing 4 starters. That makes absolutely no sense. Now,
maybe we can trade for Josh Jacobs just because.
I was just gonna say I was gonna say that because it seems like John Gruden is kind of lost there. I mean, I wouldn't have gave his ass $100 million anyway to be a damn coach because he's never been that good. So I would call and see because I know they wanted to trade Derek Carr. That's another thing, but I don't understand John Brown the John Brown signing when you can't even effectively use Henry Ruggs. They couldn't use him last year. So I don't understand that. They should have got more of a possession guy that fits with Derek Carr's game because he doesn't like to push the ball downfield. So kind of was lost in that signing.
Yeah. Now back to the Dolphins. It seems like they're in on David Andrews. We know all the names in play at number 36, and as far as Creed Humphrey, it's a guy that we've been talking about forever. But could Plan B be as easy as? They like what they saw from Dieter last year, Michael Dieter. He took snaps as a backup center, and he's the fallback position if they don't get David Andrews. And maybe they just bring in a Creed Humphrey at number 36, and it's Creed Humphrey and it's Michael Dieter, and they'll battle out for at the center position come training camp. Is it as simple as that, Kai?
Well, just want to thank Miami Grill for the food. Appreciate it. Second thing, what do you? Huh?
Always be selling.
Yeah, I got a nice little bag with the food too. It's living life, chilling. Anyhow, it's a beautiful hat, CK. If this fro could fit into a hat, man, I'd be wearing hats. Trust me. But you can see it's a whole mess.
CK, who is this guy you retweeted? He's got like 15 followers. Did he just make his account?
That's true.
I retweeted it because it's just because of that because he has like 17 followers. So I thought it was funny just to stir the pot.
You're trolling. That's what's happening here. Okay,
I'm glad you cut in, Lewis, because I was actually going to try to detour towards that. So I'll quickly answer off. I would love to get a Creed Humphrey. I think the Michael Dieter thing has been weird because it's like the past 2 seasons we haven't really seen much of Dieter, but I would love to get a Creed Humphrey. If we pay an astronomical number for David Andrews, I would be a little bit upset. So it would annoy me a little bit, but
what's astronomical to you?
Well, I don't know, CK, what are you hearing?
You said Michael Dieter's astronomical?
No.
Well,
No, Dieter's just an ass.
Michael Dieter's never coming on the network as a guest.
Michael.
Well, like, because I saw. Okay, so people were like, "Oh, would you like?" It depends what the number is going to be. Like, if it's, let me be like, because sometimes if it's like in the 5 million range or something like that, like I guess I wouldn't be so upset. It also depends on how many years it is. Because like we all, I mean, maybe not we all thought.
You want
some
to
of the
take
thought
care
with
like contract.
Yes. But he's also not like as bad as Ted Karras, and not saying that Ted Karras is bad, but like you get what I mean. Like it's just, it's like I'm fighting with myself.
You should take the rest of the day off. Like take it easy today.
I would say
Kai's
I'm tired as hell, CK.
I'm
tired,
from
man.
From a Dolphins perspective, we also can look that Miami's kind of trying to keep flexibility for next year as well. Because I think you'll have more options out there with all these guys signing 1-year deals.
Right, and we discussed that earlier. They also have to bring back their own guys next season, and that's going to cost money.
And I don't know, I don't know why people been talking about Xavier Howard being traded to Denver. I'm lost in that sauce there. So.
That's
Lewis, you seem to hate all trade talk.
I don't hate all trade talk.
Anything.
I love trade talk when it's for picking up somebody who can be done. Who
would you trade for? Okay, Lewis, who would you trade for? Because every single time, like, look, we might like all joke.
I wanted to trade for Rodney Hudson.
But who would you? Okay, but that's like an obvious. Like Jakari says, trade for OBJ, and you're just like, all right, I would rather trade for like a plastic fork. You need to like,
I'll trade for OBJ. Sure, why not? I'll trade for OBJ. This is when I hate trades when they come from superficial, nonsensical reasons. Why trade Davion Howard? Oh, because he's not happy with his contract. Oh, because we can't count on him. What world? He's the best player on the team.
Look, I love Xavier Howard. I've been one of the.
Yes, he is. Yes, Jakari, he's the best player on the team.
Oh, we're doing this again.
I would trade Xavier Howard if it's for another top 15, 20 player defensive player. I would do that, yes. Because he's never going to catch 10 interceptions again in the season.
We didn't think he was going to catch that's the same interception he got 2 years ago.
I don't think never existed in the NFL, Jakari.
Jakari, what about if you needed to trade Xavier to try and get that quarterback situation straightened out?
Oh, now I'm upset.
Have a nice evening.
So you don't trade X in that deal.
Off limits.
Yes.
Off limits.
No. You trade X for a franchise quarterback.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, it obviously wouldn't be straight up, but I'm talking if you need to add him to the mix.
Do we think that deal would be like the Russ deal? I know it was mentioned a little bit, but I was like coming in and out trying to like with the stream while driving and everything like that. Do we think that's going to be like that sort of thing, like 3 first-round picks, a third? Obviously, it's a different situation, but like for Deshaun, especially with whatever crap stuff or non-crap stuff had come out yesterday, what do you think the price would be? It's got to be at least you start with 3 and 18 and then go from there, but you'd have to throw in like a veteran like X possibly.
No, I think any deal for Deshaun Watson has to start and end with how they replace him. So I think it has to be an extremely high pick or a quarterback. So it's either the Jets at number 2, Miami at number 3, or that's pretty much it. Or unless maybe Carolina can package a ton of picks where the Texans would have to be crazy to say no. So yeah, I think any trade has to start and begin and end with how they replace Deshaun Watson. And really, there's only 2 teams that have the ammunition for that.
I think they're going to play the tanking game. Seriously, I think Houston's going to play the tanking game. And
that's really the best thing that they do.
And if they sit him, and if they keep Watson and sit him down, they're still tanking regardless. They basically do the whole Peyton Manning got injured for a year thing. They're just going to wait and see what they get for the next season. And then they can take care of it.
The quarterback class next year is not that great, so yeah, I kind of think they should probably move now because at least in this draft class, you got Lawrence, you got Fields, you got.
But you're not getting Lawrence.
Potential to be Lawrence. No,
take Lawrence off the table. He's going to Jacksonville.
So Wilson, you got Zach Wilson, you got Justin Fields, you got Trey Lance, who I think Trey Lance is a development, like he's a year away. Just because we haven't seen enough of him in a high level game. He played 1 game this season. Zach Wilson is very talented as well. So why not roll the dice at 3? Take what the Dolphins give you to get Zach Wilson, because you'll have a developmental guy. If you don't want Tua, now if they want Tua, you give them Tua and just call it fits.
And now we're welcoming a new gentleman to the show. How are you, sir?
Matt Perdomo.
Matt's jumping in, but before Matt jumps in, because I wanted to ask one thing to Alfredo. And
are you munching on Miami sub grill fries?
Totally gone.
Yep. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry.
Have we mentioned this video is sponsored by Miami Grill?
Alfredo, because you asked about the center position, I do wonder, do you think that some of the moves or some of the things that they've been doing in free agency or players that they haven't been going after as hard has anything to do with what they saw from players at the Senior Bowl? Because I know it's going to play a role, but do you think they're thinking, oh, we saw a lot of guys there on the offensive line. Maybe we don't need to push as hard for an offensive line and much more than maybe one center. And even then, we can maybe pick up a Creed Humphrey or Quentin Miners. I feel like that has a big thing to do with why they're being so slow with some of this stuff.
I think it's a dangerous game to play, because if you're going to start earmarking every single pick of yours for a certain specific guy, and then come draft day, you don't get him, then you kind of blew your entire plan, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think that's a very dangerous game to play. Today, I saw Daniel Jeremiah. He released his latest mock, and he said, quote unquote, the Dolphins have to be earmarking number 18 for Najee Harris. Yeah, that sounds great. What if you don't get Najee Harris? Maybe he goes 12. Maybe he goes 13. If you start thinking about Creed Humphrey and you saying, okay, don't worry about it. We'll take him at 36. And a team who is, maybe might want a center, might need a center late.
Like the Raiders.
In the first round. Yeah, maybe they reach for a Creed Humphrey. Yeah. And they say, you know what? He's just too good to pass up. We're not going to play the waiting game to the second round. I will take him. That could blow up your board and blow up your entire plans. So,
which is why I was really worried about the running back position, because I feel like this team hasn't earned my trust yet with drafting a running back, just because last year they're like, oh, we'll get them next pick. We'll get them next pick. We'll get them next pick. And then it never came. So at this point, if we're going in with Marlon Mack, Gaskin, Ahmed, I'm not Malcolm Brown. Sorry, Malcolm Brown. But yeah, if we go in with that at running back, I'm not excited about that position at all.
Well, but the Dolphins did this last year with the whole earmark thing, but they kind of tricked everybody, because remember it was reports, they wanted Herbert at 5. They wanted Herbert. They didn't want Tua. They wanted Burrow.
Was anybody really convinced that they wanted anybody but Tua? I wasn't.
I mean, a lot of people were.
Andrew
I think
Thomas,
they
they would have took Burrow, yes. But so. I do want to ask you guys this. Do you think right now do any of the guards have potential to play center? Because I do feel like this. The starting offensive line in the future is going to be Jackson, Wilson at left or right guard, Solomon Kinley, and Robert Hunt. So do you feel like any of those guys have center potential where you can just grab a guard instead of a center?
On roster? Guys on roster right now?
I think it's just Dieter.
I think out of the guys I think Jatari is referring to somebody other than Dieter, somebody who we already brought in, like a Kinley. Could you bump him to center?
Well, you got what's his name? You got Jesse Davis's feet wet at center last year.
Jesse Davis.
I know it didn't look great, but they trust him. Listen, being a center, a lot of being a center is about, are you a trustworthy player, and where your head is at in the room. Yeah, so it's about trust. It's about whether you're a guy that the team or the coaches can really trust to prepare and make the line calls and do everything right. And they trust. I know they trust Jesse Davis. He's a guy. He's a leader in that room, and it's one of the unfortunate things about him that he's not actually good enough to play right tackle for us or to play one of the guard positions very well. But they did get his feet wet at center, so I wouldn't be surprised if they revisited it and asked him, can you do it? And don't be surprised if he does all right with it. I mean, he's big; he's not going to get bowled over by anybody at the center position.
And if you look at the guys they've added with Kinley and Wilson, those guys are road raiders. So that's them three, the center and the two guards.
Mhm.
Those guys are not going to get the manhandle up front. They're maulers. They're bigger bodies just to protect the inside, because the NFL is shipping back Lewis Peters.
That's our other sponsor. You can go ahead and look to him to get you the best quotes available. All right.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Though. I actually would like Davis, Wilson, Kinley, Hunt, and Jackson, and you trade Flowers, who's in the last year of his deal anyway. I think he signed a 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he has a couple more. I think. Well, I could look it up, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but you trade Flowers in general and just roll with those guys because Wilson is ultra talented. He's just not a right tackle in the NFL because he can't move that well. His feet aren't that great.
Flowers signed a 3-year deal, so he has 2 more.
Yeah.
So he's signed through 2022.
Now, let me ask this. Does anybody think that they're in that building in Davie and they're content to go to the draft with this wide receiver room and they're actually not in on any wide receiver in the free agency period?
Free agency or the draft too?
No, do you think that this team is actually thinking right now that they're content to go into the draft with this current wide receiver room and that they're actually not targeting a single wide receiver in this free agency period? I'll start with Jakari.
You can make an argument, yes, because if you look at the roster right now, you got Albert Wilson who will be coming back from the opt-out. You got Allen Hurns who will be coming back from the opt-out. You got Preston Williams coming off the injury, Parker, Bolton, Grant. Like, you have some guys. Williams, when he's healthy, he's Devontae Parker. Literally, he's been Devontae Parker. Parker, before he was able to stay healthy, he would flash every other game, have his moments, but he was always hurt. So if you could get Preston Williams on track and healthy, you have a starting caliber receiver with him and Devontae Parker, and you have a plethora of guys you can put at slot. Albert Wilson brings back some explosiveness. Malcolm Perry brings some explosiveness. Boughton brings nice run after the catch ability. So I really think they will be okay with it. Now, as fans, do we want that? No, because we want to see better guys in place. You want to see Juju Smith-Schuster, or you want to see a Curtis Samuel, or you want to draft Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. But ultimately, the receiver room is fine. They can compete. They're just going to struggle a little bit, but they can compete with that group.
We need to keep in mind just how depleted that room was by the end of the season. That it wasn't just that the players were not good. There were so many injuries that you were literally like scraping the bottom of the barrel, looking through the practice squad, recent releases to see if there was anybody who could just run like a straight route. That was how bad it got last season. And that factors in. Now we have a fresh core, and this is where it comes in. You're looking at the wide receiver room right now, and who on that roster would you just say, oh, yeah, I totally don't care about this guy, and I don't care if he goes or stays? Maybe Allen Hurns is the only one on that list where I'm looking like I wouldn't lose sleep if he just didn't even go into training camp.
Because I want to see gone, I'm good.
I want to see Albert Wilson in camp first. I do, because Michael, remember what kind of a playmaker he was the first year he got there. Because when he was there and he made plays, do not discredit what he did in that first year he was there. He got that injury. He was slowed down the next year because of it. Now he's had 2 years pretty much to basically get himself back in gear. I want to see what he can do, if anything. And if not, we let him go after that. But right now, as the roster stands, Preston Williams is 1. I want to keep him. Devontae Parker is 2. I want to keep him, or at least see what he's got. Albert Wilson, I want to see what he's got.
Well, the top 2 guys you name are already they're proven guys. Parker doesn't have to prove anything.
But the thing with them too, and I'm about to head out, and then Kai's going to come in for me. The thing with those wide receivers is this: Preston Williams has not been healthy for an entire season in the 2 years he's been in the league.
Fine.
Devontae Parker deals with injuries all the time, and even though he tried to play through it a lot last season, you could tell when it was really hindering him. Okay. Albert Wilson was dealing with injuries before he got to the Dolphins. Then he got to the Dolphins, dealt with injuries, and yes, COVID, he decided to opt out, and that's not that. Listen, I think we need at least one guy that we can count on. If those guys go down, who do we have that we can count on? Nobody.
Freak hip injury should not count as injury prone. If you tear your ACL, that's not injury prone. That's just you got unlucky because somebody rolled on your leg.
He was hurt in Kansas City too. I just think if those are the top 3 guys you're going into the season with, you're really playing with fire because it was Simon that said it.
You're not going into the season. You're going to go a whole draft. I'm sure there's going to be at least 2 rounds. There's going to be at least 2 draft picks.
But they're drafted players that you've never seen play in the NFL, and it's going to take a transition, and they're going to be incredibly skilled. But you're not 100% sure on any drafted prospect. I'm sorry, there's just not a thing.
And I'm not convinced that Juju's going to be a game changer either. I'm not convinced.
But I'm more convinced in his health than the rest of the guys. I don't know. I'll let Matt go because Matt hasn't said anything yet. But I just think the health is the really big thing for me with all those wide receivers.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Listen, man. You got to speak up for yourself. Otherwise, this is going to go on. This is like first take.
I'm going to bow.
Get loud.
I'll see you guys later. Alfredo, CK, nice
it is so warm. It is so good. Like, hold on, let me show you. They brought me like a whole plethora of freaking food, things that I didn't even order, but I'm fine with it because it's extra food. Anyways. Are we fine with what we have? No, we're not fine. Okay, if you're telling me that Albert Wilson, Preston Williams, and Devontae Parker is going to take you to the promised land, no, I'm not gonna say that's all we need. I think we need one guy at least in the free agency. Let's turn it up. Let's fucking go for something else. But I'm not okay with just these 3 guys being our top targets.
Yeah, and one thing and to round this out as far as wide receiver. They seem to be sticking to their ageist philosophy. Like they're not interested in anybody older. It's kind of been said loudly by a few in the beat media and some on TV that T.Y. Hilton really wants to come back here. He wants to play here.
Oh no, I can confirm that. I was just with his cousin the other day, who played with me at K-State. He wants to be in Miami. He does a lot of charity work over there at Gwen Cherry Bulls. He's always here. Does a lot of work with the community. He wants to be back in Miami. He's been trying to find ways. Obviously, he couldn't turn down the money in Indianapolis, but he wants to be here.
Yeah, so all the rumors are essentially true. Everybody's whispering it, but evidently it's true. Now, he's 31. I guess he'll turn 32 during the season. Is it time to start dumping this ageist philosophy and just, actually go get a player who might not even be as expensive as some of the, the top 3 guys that were coming out and were linked to the Miami Dolphins, but maybe, dig a little bit deeper. Now Emmanuel Sanders is gone, so I would say that the next best thing is probably T.Y. Hilton. Is that something that they should be doing, Chris?
T.Y. Hilton is a nice backup plan. I think that they've got a number. First question was, would you be surprised if at this Alf, you asked, would you be surprised if they weren't really serious about any of these wide receivers and they're just going to go into the draft with what they've got? I think that it's sort of like that. It is probably that, and also it isn't, because I think they've got offers on the table. And I think that they've got multiple offers on the table, and it's like, okay, whoever wants what we offer is going to be the one who we get. And there's reason to believe that maybe one of those offers was out to John Brown, not for a high amount of money. One of those offers might be there for T.Y. Hilton if they, if there's a pecking order, and we get down to it. Kenny Golladay, maybe there's an offer out there that he would, just be kind of insulted by. And maybe Juju Smith-Schuster is finding out the same thing. Maybe Curtis Samuel, the same thing. So I think that they've probably got offers out there for these guys, but it doesn't mean that they're super serious about them, because, it depends on what the money level is. So it wouldn't surprise me if they headed into the draft with receiver unit.
It sounds like they have a plan, and they're not going to break the plan for anybody specific.
Yeah. Well, they would. So I think that they might. Go down the priority list, and maybe it does end up with a T.Y. Hilton. Because since he wants to be here so bad, I know that Marvin Jones kind of wanted to be here too, but that didn't work out. But I think that they could head into the draft with what they've got. It is a good point that part of the receiver woes last year were that everybody was injured, and so it's hard to hold that against them. It is a fair point if people bring up about Preston Williams, and this was true, that it seemed like he was certainly one of Tua's favorite targets, if not his favorite target before he went down. I think that, but at the same time, I do think you hold those injuries against them. I think that Bill Parcells, he goes into a team, he holds up the injury file, this thick, and he throws it in the garbage and said, this isn't going to happen again. And he gets rid of all the players that were injured. That's the first thing he does when he goes to a team. And I think there's something to that. They have to look at that unit. They have to look at Albert Wilson's hip injury, which was very, very serious, more serious than people were kind of, letting on. And imagine if Tua was a wide receiver, what would you trust about him right now? That's the difficulties with Albert Wilson. That's the difficulty with Preston Williams 2 seasons in a row. Devontae Parker, game after game after game, coming out a quarter here, a quarter there. This can't keep happening. And at some point, they're going to throw up their hands and say, we need a fresh approach. We need a fresh new unit. And then they're just going to toss out all those guys, and they're going to keep guys that are available. And then they're going to draft 2 more guys, if not 3. And then they're going to remake the whole unit. And I think that's kind of where they're leaning. And I think that part of this, offering out receivers to receivers all over the place, we probably got an offer for Curtis Samuel. I agree with Jakari that Curtis Samuel, as far as the OC is concerned, drawing it up on the board, Curtis Samuel's the guy that gives you the most. As far as Tua is concerned, the security blanket, probably Juju would be the best for a security blanket for him. But they probably got the offers out for all of those guys because I think they want to remake that room. And I think they are tired of the injury crap. And so I think that you have to pay attention to that. But I do think that 2 guys are coming. And one of them could be, if they keep the 3rd pick, if they keep a pick that's real high, it could be Kyle Pitts, as a receiver, and not just as a tight end. But yeah, I think you got 2 guys coming.
Well, no modern day tight end plays tight end anymore. So
yeah, well, right, yeah.
So Adam Pitts, you might well say, would you rather a tight end, a receiver at 3?
But you'd be surprised, Jakari. You'd be surprised. Darren Waller's in line like an incredible amount of time. Like he's in line like 60% or something like that. Like for considering what he is, I think that would be surprising to a lot of people.
I love Darren Waller, and I think that's who Kyle Pitts reminds me of the most. He should Kyle Pitts should write him a thank you letter right now because Darren Waller is going to get a lot of tight ends paid from that move from receiver to tight end. He's going to get a lot of guys paid just because they're going to be like, you know what, the size doesn't matter anymore at tight end. We can just go ahead, line you up. If you can block and you can get out there and run routes and win, we'll take you.
All right, so Jakari, just back to that question, and then I'm going to throw something else out to everybody here on the panel. T.Y. Hilton.
Go ahead.
T.Y. Hilton. Wouldn't he be a perfect fit? And he shouldn't be that expensive, I would think.
Well, a lot of the things that CK just said, it would be great just for the Dolphins to add a veteran receiver because the Dolphins have a lot of young guys at receiver. Add that veteran person, similar to when Miami added Frank Gore to the running back room when Gaze was there, to give a guy who wants to come home an opportunity and teach those guys the ropes of being an NFL receiver. He has been productive when he's had good quarterbacks back there. He's not a bad player. I still think he can give you probably in a 16-game season, he can give you probably 5 good games, 5 or 6 good games. And he's still somebody you have to bring attention to because he has the speed. So I think adding him would be great just because Miami needs a speed complement to what they have. That's the only thing we're harping on anyway. These guys that we have back there have no speed.
All right. Now, moving on, we haven't even mentioned him so far on this show today, but I think it's a pretty important signing, and it's kind of interesting. And I guess I'll kick it off with Lewis, and I'll ask Lewis a question. Lewis, who has the best backup quarterback in the NFL?
Who has the best? What is that noise? Oh my god!
I think it's Jakari.
Is somebody popping bubble wrap?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nah.
Put your water bottle down, Jakari. Go get you a fidget spinner. Okay. Anyway,
Well,
to answer the question, who has the best backup in the NFL? If the Cowboys had kept Dalton, I would have said them, but I would say right now, honestly, best backup quarterback? Yeah, Miami. Jacoby Brissett as a backup quarterback, considering he was being looked at as a potential starter not that long ago, I would say that he would fit the bill. Unless you want to make the argument that the Nick Foles and Andy Dalton situation, well, maybe they have the best backup. That's the only one that I can think of that would have any real competition in that front. Because Nick Foles, whether I think he's a starter or not, he's not. But he has won a Super Bowl, so good for him. Andy Dalton is probably, he was one of the best backups you could put, at least on paper, for the Dallas Cowboys. So it's either between Chicago or Miami, and I would just have to err on the side of Miami, not because I'm biased, but because just based on what it is that they do and what they are capable of, I would rather have Jacoby Brissett than Andy Dalton or Nick Foles, quite frankly.
Yeah, so Matt, how big was that signing of Jacoby Brissett yesterday? Now, hopefully we never get to see him play, because if we never get to see him play, it means that Tua Tagovailoa was absolutely healthy.
I didn't bring up Mariota. No, I didn't. But
Not necessarily, Alf. Not necessarily, because Jacoby Brissett he comes in short yardage and he comes in on goal line, and he gets rushing touchdowns. He gets first downs and short yardage. And don't discount that, because short yardage was a huge problem for Miami last year. I mean, they really you could tell they just didn't know what to do when they got into that situation. It's like, well, we'll call something, but it's not. I mean, but it's
Michael Brown should help too.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, so Michael Brown's a physical runner, so go ahead, Matt.
I was super excited when we got Jacoby Brissett. I honestly didn't see it coming. I don't know how many people were on it. I didn't personally see anybody on it. And I like for what we signed him up, like money wise, we signed up, nice. In 2019, he had a pretty good season with the Indiana Colts. So if he could bring that in here and be the backup, that's a very solid, backup QB. Like Lewis was saying, I think maybe Andy Dalton might, be, up there.
We have to say Marcus Mariota. I didn't mention him because honestly I'd forgotten he was on the Raiders.
Marcus Mariota had that one game.
Like, what about Fitzpatrick?
But
Fitzpatrick's
he's a starter, CK.
That's what
he's
the
a
backup.
god, CK.
Do we know?
Come on.
That's what the backup. That's what the backup quarterback is there for. You just coming in. You only coming in to just win a game or win you a game. That's it.
Right, but if you have to go and start a couple games, like most of the backups in the NFL now have to end up doing, unless you're Henny, where you do the Henny thing as possible for like a game or two. Like right now, like that, when usually these backup quarterbacks come in and they start multiple games.
So
you expect Mariota to be good on more than one occasion on a game that he was put into because of an injury?
Yes.
I don't expect that from Mariota. No chance.
No, Mariota could have did the same thing with the Raiders that Tannehill did in Tennessee. They have the same, like Mariota has the same tools Ryan Tannehill has. I think that he just was in a bad situation with the Titans. That's it. I think if they.
But then Tannehill went into that and took over completely and ran with it.
Exactly. Where was Mariota? What was Mariota not doing that Tannehill could?
Throw the ball?
Well, I think Ryan Tannehill finally started to realize all he needed to do in that offense was complete the passes he was asked. Mariota has too much. So
he became one of the best quarterbacks in football by accident.
No. He's not one of the best quarterbacks in football. No. And he ain't.
Statistically speaking, he is.
The Tennessee Titans ain't winning games because Tannehill out there throwing for 500 yards. Now we know who that.
They weren't winning games with Mariota throwing for 200 yards. So
if aliens came down to Earth last year and all they knew about the NFL was the last two seasons, they would think that Pat Mahomes was the best quarterback in the NFL and that Ryan Tannehill was the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Well, we all know that's not true.
What do you guys rank Jameis Winston? Because I know we didn't mention him. Like, is he top?
He's a
backup
starter now too. Technically,
is he a starter?
Oh, he is.
He's a starter.
Taysom Hill.
No, hell no. You can't go 16 games. It'll be 5-11 with him.
You can't go one game with Taysom. Well,
I will tell you this.
They won a few games with Taysom.
If Jameis Winston was the starting quarterback against the Bucs, they would have beat Tampa Bay.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because Winston can push the ball downfield. Drew Brees couldn't push the ball.
And he can throw interceptions with the best of them.
That's his only problem, though.
His only problem?
Yeah,
he got LASIK, Lewis. He's okay, man. Come on, guys. You gotta look at the brighter side of things.
Bro, he threw 30. He threw a lot of touchdowns, but he does turn the ball over.
30 for 30.
He threw 30 interceptions.
Yeah, if it weren't for those 30 picks, he would have been great.
Yeah, he would have been the best.
Mrs. Lincoln.
That's
his only problem.
Eli Manning led the league in interceptions about 3 or 4 times. I think we can give Jameis Winston a pass and see how he does with a better
comparing
offense.
Eli Manning and Jameis Winston
Eli
for
Manning
real.
was good a long time ago.
Eli Manning was an okay quarterback. He's average at best.
Shit.
I tend to agree with
Won
that.
a couple Super Bowls.
So, Kai, do you think that anything in Brian Flores' makeup, we saw it for 1 year, but Tua Tagovailoa was a rookie. Okay, so let's
playing behind everybody else, mind you,
with no offseason. So let's give Brian Flores a pass. Do you think it's in his nature to bring in Jacoby Brissett because he has it in the back of his mind that he is going to try that reliever bullcrap again this coming season?
I mean, man, Alf, you answered your own question by calling it bull crap, man. Like, I wasn't a fan of it. I haven't been a fan of a lot of things with Fitzpatrick stuff, not because of Fitzpatrick himself, but just like the story. It's like the thing I've been comparing it to is like Matt Moore. You remember when everyone thought Matt Moore was some god, and it's like it just completely isn't true. That's kind of the same thing that's been happening. I would hope not. I mean,
we have an announcement to make.
Man,
The Dolphins have signed Adam Pankey.
Yeah, someone remove Lewis from the stream. Remove Lewis from the stream.
Mute.
You did not just pause something for that.
You
know what? I can do it myself. Oh, no, but in all honesty, I hope that that's not the situation. But at the same time, every time I think about the excuse, because it is an excuse that we've been giving for the Tua offseason stuff, although I think the biggest part for Tua is his injury was his injury. I mean, it wasn't an injury that you looked at and you were like, wow. Like, it wasn't something that you looked at maybe like a broken thumb or something where it's like, okay, he's going to come back. Like, it was a serious injury. So I have the part of me that goes, we're giving him all these excuses, and then we had another rookie quarterback lighting up the league in Justin Herbert. And at the same time, remember, like, Tua didn't have the offseason coming back from the injury. I didn't like how everything played out with Flores and doing all that stuff. But I think if there's anything we've learned over the past 2 seasons is that he doesn't care and he will do whatever he thinks it takes to win the game. And most of the time, maybe we don't agree with him on the quarterback changes, but sometimes he's done that stuff and he's been right. I mean, all of us collectively as Twitter, after watching 2 games of Nick Needham on the field in the preseason, wanted him gone off the roster, not even wearing a jersey ever again. And he turned out to be one of their most productive corners in 2019. So, at this point, until he proves that whatever, like, if everything fails with Tua, obviously him and Chris Greer will be gone. I think that unless they trade for Deshaun Watson, like if Tua fails, they're going to get fired. Why are you squinting at me, Lewis? It's the truth.
No. That's
how it happens. When you draft a rookie quarterback, you are being hitched along with them.
Hold on, Kai. Wait a minute. Like, if he doesn't do well in 2021, they're fired?
No, I said if Tua fails. I never said
but that's what I'm saying. That's like, what's your definition for failure here? Because it's like, oh my God, you're already giving Flores the boot already if he doesn't do well right immediately.
I'm not. I'm just talking about what the NFL is.
If he doesn't do well in 2021, then he might be traded. And they might trade for somebody else. I think Flores. No, I don't think he's getting fired.
But like, you get me? Like, you hit. If let's say that, I don't know. Let's say it becomes an ultimate failure. You don't think that Stephen Ross is gonna like? Imagine they go out and they trade for someone that doesn't work that year. You don't think Stephen Ross is gonna want to move on?
If everything works except the QB, then no.
Chris Greer could be. Chris Greer is on the hot seat. Yeah, Chris Greer could be.
At least one of them.
That's not the same as Brian Flores.
Yeah, but it's not like out of out of this world to think that if stuff starts to go wrong, one of them will be gone eventually. Like, it's just how it is. We're all hoping that it doesn't happen, but I mean,
no, but it is an important point. It is an important point to say that if he even is just like the same this year as he was last year, then I think they're going to move aggressively to go move on from him. I don't think they're going to have a long leash. I don't think they're going to, afford a guy a third year the way that
like the Bears did with Trubisky.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't I don't see it happening, and that actually might match up with it because I've always thought that the Deshaun Watson thing is going to end with him having to sit out the year. But I think they could just circle back next year and look for who they can trade for if Tua it just doesn't step up, and I think that's an important point. And also, at that time, who really knows what's happening with Chris Greer, as I said, because there's times he has defied his owner and basically defied his owner's wisdom. And then the owner might have more or less felt like he was actually right. So you got to watch out for that.
All right, now, Chris, when that signing happened, the first thought that came to my head was, that's a pretty good signing. Like, that's a really, really good quarterback. And I immediately thought, the Dolphins probably have the best backup quarterback in the NFL now. Then the next thought that came to my head was, could it be that Brian Flores is still keeping that inside of his character for this coming year? Do you fear that could be the case, that Brian Flores could be looking at Jacoby Brissett as an insurance policy against Tua Tagovailoa, and let's say week 7, he has a rough start to a game? Could we be playing that musical quarterbacks thing once again?
Well, listen, if he did it last year, he did the relief pitcher thing before. He could do it again. I mean, and it doesn't matter who that backup is, whether it's Jacoby Brissett, as long as they're practicing well and they have confidence in him. He could decide at any point that they need a change in order to jumpstart the offense. But I think that Jacoby Brissett, is he an insurance policy? He's an insurance policy for Malcolm Brown because he can run some short yardage stuff. But otherwise, he has a backups contract. I mean, this is a solid backup and not even an expensive backup contract. You got to look at the contract with these things. It tells you everything. And the contract, what it can get up to as far as the incentives, the ceiling of it. I mean, listen, this is what it is. This is a guy that has no expectation of being able to win the starting job at any point in the season. And I think that's the signal they sent to him, and I think that's the signal he accepted. So no, I don't think their mindset is anything like in the back of their head, like, well, if the things go a certain way, then Jacoby can take over. No, I don't think listen, they're going to sink or swim. I think they got an owner problem that way. If they're going to sink or swim with Tua, they're going to give him the year and they're going to keep trying to give him the chance to improve. And hopefully they're right. But I think, no, and who knows? I mean, he could be Russell Wilson's backup for all we know, but I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. All right, moving off
Alpha
of
and CK stirring the pot, man.
Moving off the quarterback, and a guy who I think is an under the radar signing. It wasn't for a lot of money. He's not expected to carry a huge load here, but the Rams last year, when they drafted Cam Akers, they expected him to take over the position. He immediately got injured, and they had C.J. Henderson, they had Malcolm Brown carry the load. I thought that was as good a looking running back group. I said so before when we did the preview for Dolphins Rams at midseason for Tua's debut. I said so at the top of the show that was as good a looking running back group as there is in the NFL, and that was without Cam Akers. Cam Akers comes back. They have a choice who's going to be RB2, and Malcolm Brown won that. On the latest yard work, I illustrated how the game icing drive in the wildcard round in the first round was not with Cam Akers. It was with Malcolm Brown carrying the ball 3 times, catching it once, and then they ran play action with him to win that game against the Seattle Seahawks. So it begs the question again. We've said it before about wide receivers. Let's say it about running backs. Do you think that they're done? Do you think that maybe Malcolm Brown, they brought him in as RB2, they're happy with Myles Gaskin, and maybe they're just going to dabble in the draft? Or is there still a lot of work to do with the running back room? And I'll start with Lewis.
I think there's a lot of work to do in the running back room, and I'm still convinced they're going to try and grab their guy, Najee Harris, just because, and I shouldn't say their guy, I should say Tua's guy. Because you would think that with all these players available who are friends with Tua and know Tua very well, that they're going to try at least get one guy that they can say, all right, Tua, here's your guy. You know him well. You know how he works. Let's get to work. So I would think that Najee Harris is their top target at running back. I don't think that they're going to be necessarily content with Myles Gaskin and Malcolm Brown, because that just feels like I think that's foolish. I really think that's foolish if that's the case. And that I will not give Greer and Flores a pass if they think that that's okay. They need to get somebody in there who can really get the running back room up and running. That's what, for lack of a better term. Now with that, okay.
I like that one.
I have a way with words. Sometimes they don't come out in the right order, but I do have a way with words. But and so did them. Okay.
So Juan, same question.
Sorry. No, I think I mean look who we really have available right now besides the draft, right? Lombardi Lenny. I like Mike Davis as a potential name.
Lombardi Lenny, I love it.
Are we gonna revisit Kenyon Drake, like Philip Lindsay, maybe? There's options, right? If the Dolphins really want to go bargain hunting, because apparently they don't, obviously the running back room is already devalued as it is, but these names are kind of, I don't even want to say older in the tooth, but even Tevin Coleman, just kind of injured and, have their warts to them. I think, I don't think they would want to go into the draft having to rely on having to get Najee or having to get Javonte, but I don't know. Do we really want to do a repeat of last year to when we think we got him and then we have a run and then all of a sudden we're kind of stuck out and, Chris Greer with another 7th round or another free agent at the end?
Yeah. Do you think that he regrets it from last year's draft? Not
well,
that
I think Eric Studsville regrets it.
Yeah.
For a fact that if he was in charge, if Eric Studsville was in charge, J.K. Dobbins would have been here, or Jonathan Taylor would have been here.
You know what? Yeah. I honestly think, and this is something that we need to factor in.
Taylor did a great job with the Colts.
Sorry. First of all, Mike, Frank Gore, I would love to have Frank Gore back just for my heart's sake. My heart bleeds for that man. But anyway, now that Studsville is co-offensive coordinator now, I think he's going to have much more of a voice in how the Dolphins run this draft. I'm not saying he's going to be the end-all, be-all, but he's going to be able to say, listen, I want a running back. I want a real running back. I want a guy that I can count on and say, you are the man, end of discussion. So whether Flores and Greer listen to him or not is a different story, but his voice is going to ring louder in that draft room now. So I think we can take that into consideration.
I mean, that's partially why he's the assistant or part of the OC group right now, because now I think Brian Flores is definitely tired of the running back experiment from last year. So I think bringing in Eric Studsville, already tells us the plan that no, this is not enough for our team.
So the Dolphins actually make an actual signing.
Is that bye 19? Is that bye 19?
It's Robert Foster.
Okay. That's well, they made an offer for John Ross, and Robert Foster is kind of
that's an Alabama guy, right?
Not from his agents.
I believe Robert Foster went to Alabama.
Advisors tweeted it out recently.
That's a verified account.
Got a nice little graphic. I'll try to share the see if we can get it up.
Okay, and no, it's not by 19 because 19 is going to go into training camp, and if he fails, then he gets the boot. Jesus. Why do you guys want to get rid of him before camp even comes out? It doesn't matter. You can cut him later.
Yeah, you can do a post June 1 cut, and it's a 4.5 million saved in the cap. So,
good job, Juan. Thank you.
Well, there you go, though. But he gets to compete. At least he gets a shot.
Yes.
So Kai, back to the running back room before we get into Robert Foster. The running back room. What's the work left to be done? And I think that shaking out with the addition of Malcolm Brown.
Well, the two things that hurt me were the Aaron Jones and the Marlon Mack. That hurts. Not that those kind of hurt. I would have loved to get a guy like Marlon Mack, especially considering after he was injured. Jonathan Taylor starts to take that job there in Indy with the Colts, excuse me. And that would have been nice, especially considering what he went back on a 1 year, $2 million, I believe. I think we had talked about that earlier. Aaron Jones, Rosenhaus said he took less money. He probably did. Who knows? But that obviously sucks because I think you look at him as more than just a running back, and I think that's probably what Green Bay does as well. I'm not satisfied with just having the additions that we make in Brown and then having Savon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin. I mean, if you're Chris Greer and you're the Miami Dolphins and you looked at just having those two, I don't think that Brown is going to be as much of a failure as Jordan Howard was. I think we all looked at Jordan Howard and saw, okay, there's a possibility that he could do something. Maybe there's something left in the tank. But once you saw kind of the first couple snaps and you saw the fact that
Kai, that's all that matters.
Okay, so what was he used?
I'm being sarcastic.
We've had I know, but that's what people are actually like. Remember how we would do game streams and people would go, oh, well, this, and this. It's like at some point you have to find that guy. You have to find like everyone. Since we were talking about the dogs, especially earlier with Juju, though I think sometimes with Jarvis it was a little bit of a fake, and I had made that tweet out. But Jarvis was that
you
guy.
were dead wrong on that one.
Yeah, whatever. You also think that DW is getting traded to the Dolphins, so
I think he's getting traded, and that's a Dolphin.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, like they need, like you want that main person in the locker room, right? You want that guy who's going to be your lead back. But if you can do it with multiple, then you can't just continue to go into with what we had. Yeah, the 100-yard game from Savon Ahmed was nice. Yeah, Myles Gaskin being the main back was a shock. But you didn't give anything to Matt Breida. Jordan Howard was a clear failure. You have Savon Ahmed still, but you're probably not going to go in. You're really going to go into it with Savon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin both. So you're going to go, what? Ahmed, Gaskin, Brown, and then you maybe then are like, oh, well, we're set. We're not going to touch the draft.
Patrick Laird.
You have to go after one of those guys. Shut up.
Oh, my God.
Patrick Laird, bro. The intern is going to be interning somewhere else. He's going to be doing other stuff, like with a law firm.
So Chris, Malcolm Brown is it's a statement one way or the other, right? Because he's a clear-cut RB2. Is Myles Gaskin getting busted down, or they're going into the draft to go get RB1?
No, I mean, you never know if Malcolm Brown's even going to make the roster. I mean, so I think that's – listen, we went in – what did we go into camp last year thinking about Jordan Howard? What can you recall our podcasts and various declarations that this might be the smartest free agent signing that the Dolphins have done? And, not to pick on anybody, but it wasn't me. So I think that I think that you have to head into this, with a little bit of skepticism about Malcolm Brown. I mean, for all we know, he doesn't even make it out of camp. For all we know, we get a couple of games in and it's just not working out. So yeah, in that way, Myles Gaskin, he's the ultimate survivor, and he just lives to carry the load another day. So I think that obviously they're not done with that position. Nobody thinks that they're done with that position. I think they could be done in free agency. I think they might trade. I think that they're looking at guys in trade right now, and they have to be eyeballing those situations.
Trade for Kareem Hunt.
We've talked about Kareem Hunt. He is still a top. If you watch him play football, he's one of the top backs in the league right now. And yet you could probably there's problems there, and some people are going to be like, no, never, not on my team, and I respect that fully. But the Dolphins, if they've decided, hey, the past is the past, then it would be a financially sound decision on their part. But I think that they could trade for people, and then you just have to. And we mentioned before, what if Najee Harris is gone at 18? He might be. Backs when they're that good, often, if you look at draft history and even recent draft history in the last 6 years or so, they go in like the top 10. They go in the top 5. You got guys like Saquon Barkley going high. You got Ezekiel Elliott and all kinds of guys that still go high. So who knows about Najee Harris? He's a physical specimen, and he's been ultra productive, and he is really driving that Alabama offense. The running game drives that Alabama offense. I cannot stress that enough. to people. There is a reason that all those backs from Alabama go on to the NFL and show that they are legit talents. Even if they flame out because they ate themselves out of a job like Eddie Lacy, I mean, they were still legit talents. And that's by design. That's the one thing that they make sure that they start with and that they have at Alabama is that running game. And because it's the mindset, it's the foundational layer upon which everything else is built. So you could do a lot worse than to go with Najee, but would he be available at 18? At this point, I'd say, it's got to be at 50-50 now. But I don't care because I would probably also take Javonte Williams at 18. I would also think about taking Travis Etienne at 18. I think that they were working the hell out of Travis Etienne at his pro day. Eric Stutzville was running the drills. And I think that they're getting comfortable with all three of those guys, and they have to get comfortable with all three of those guys because this is what they're faced with right now. I mean, I know you would like to nail down the position and not have to actually, count on one in the draft. But at the same time, taking that stance on it produced last year. And they wanted to be opportunistic about these running backs they all liked, and then oh shit, we didn't end up with a single one of them. and now we're making last minute calls to try and get Leonard Fournette, and then we end up with Matt Breida. I mean, who we never even use. I mean, that's what produced that. The lack of resolute. They weren't resolute about what they were going to do at the position. And so there's something to be said for having that certainty and saying, this is what we're going to do because we have three guys up the top that we really like. And so I think that's could be what we're looking at 18. And I think that some of the moves that you've seen kind of around the periphery have been in order to allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, before I kick it to Kai for hour 3 of our coverage, let me remind you that this show is brought to you by Lewis Peters State Farm. They're the #1 auto home insurer in the United States. 60 years of experience in the industry. Lewis Peters will take care of you. Access to him, to everybody in his office 24/7. You can walk in, call in, click in. That phone number for a quote, 305-275-5585. All right, Kai. I'm going to hand it off to you, and I'm going to take a 5-minute break before I come right back to talk about the exploits of Robert Foster, who has 5 catches in the last 2 years, but a sizzling 2018. If you look at that 2018, that is some – I remember that season. I remember how good he was in 2018. I want to know what happened to him the last 2 years. I guess we'll talk about it, but let me take 5. Kai, take it away.
At Miami Grill, we've been delivering big favorites from big places for over 30 years. We use fresh ingredients that pack bold flavors, and we always deliver your food the way you like it. So tonight, don't just bring home dinner, bring home Miami.
Woo! I
How's
have to
that for
add
sizzling?
that food that got delivered to me today. First of all, driver, very good guy. I wish I got his name. Very nice guy. And I got some food, man. I know Matt got some food too, and
it's good, man. That shit is fire. Yeah.
I wish I'd managed to get some, but quite frankly, I remember when I was a little kid, I was like 7 years old or whatever. My family took me to Miami Grill for the first time. And because I was a 7-year-old brat, she tried to get me to eat a cheesesteak, and I refused to do it because there was onions in it.
oh,
Now
God,
I'm a grown man. My tastes have changed, and so
are you a grown man?
I think I'm more so than you right now.
Anyway, so
I think I'm like the second oldest guy on the stream right now.
You are a hatless man. I know that right now.
Don't give me hatless. Let's look at this guy up here in the corner.
I got the fro, Lewis. Listen, man, I'm sorry I was blessed with
I
beautiful hair.
thought that was a hat.
Yeah, Lewis.
That's called a wig.
I don't know what.
If I had Kai's hair, I would not wear a hat. I'm just being honest.
Hey, yo, I got this hair from my father. Shout out Father Chisholm.
And you gave and you gave the hat to your father. So
yeah, exactly, because he needs it. Yeah, there you go. But I've been dying to ask this just for everybody, and obviously waiting until I was the host and everything. One of the things that I had mentioned today on my own show and just talking in general, and have thought about since Monday, was Ian Rappaport from NFL Network went on the Pat McAfee show and mentioned that he didn't think it would be too shocking to see a couple, if not at least one big name wide receiver, assuming you're talking about Juju, Curtis, and Kenny Golladay, taking a 1-year deal and then trying to dip their toes back into the market next year. Lewis, I'll start with you. Do you think that that's a possibility that we could even see maybe 2 or 3 of these guys, like all 3 now, take 1 and or 2-year deals and then try to dip back into the market when the cap goes back up?
I wouldn't be surprised. The way that the market is right now, you see these guys scrounging around from. I think that's the biggest reason why they haven't been signed yet, is because they're waiting for somebody to cave in and say, okay, fine, we'll give in to your demands because we think you're really that good and we think you're. That's the thing, is that with all due respect to Kenny Golladay, to Juju Smith-Schuster, to Curtis Samuel, none of those guys are on the same level as those top tier number 1 guys that you think of every year making a Pro Bowl. So when they're looking for that kind of massive cash, and this is the reason why I say, it's such a stacked draft class for wide receivers. That's a big reason why these guys are not getting that big money right now. If you didn't have Kadarius Toney, who could land in the second round, but is quite frankly a first round talent, if you didn't have guys like Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, all 3 really, really good guys right at the top of the draft. And some of them could drop as far as into the double digits just because of how many other positions there are. This is a stacked draft class. And so teams are looking at that and saying, you know what? I don't think we really need to press our luck because we can get somebody who can do what Juju does here in the second round, and we can get somebody who does what Kenny Golladay does somewhere in maybe the third round, and that is going to have an impact on their bottom line. This is not a good year to be a free agent wide receiver. So maybe the best thing for them is to take a smaller deal for a 1-year thing, and then they can try to dip back into free agency the next season when the cap goes up and people have more money to spend, and then they'll be more willing to spend it.
CK?
I happen to know that that's several of the wide receivers' stances, is that they want a 1-year deal. And that's
so is that why Juju and Curtis Samuel, they're not getting 1-year offers?
I don't know about Curtis Samuel, but I can tell you that the length of the agreement is most likely one of the sources of disagreement with Juju Smith-Schuster and teams. I will not say which teams, but yeah, that is a big thing, and I think that's real. I think that's happening, and I think everybody knows why. I think you're right. I'm always skeptical about, this draft is good on this draft is bad on that, because it always matters who you take. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter if the class is supposed to be really good if you end up with, some crap receiver in the second round. I think that it perceived to be a good class, a good wide receiver class, and that's hurting them. The cap is hurting. A lot of these deals are coming in lower than you would have thought. You are seeing the pain of the budget cut in these numbers. I thought that you might see normal numbers but fewer signings, like more teams kind of holding on to what they have if they can, and cutting who they need to, and then you got a bunch of free agents that can't necessarily get a phone call. But I think there are a lot of free agents already caving, and so you've got low numbers out there, and I think that's being felt in the wide receivers right now, and so I think they all want just that 1-year deal if they can get it, if they can convince the team to allow it. And a lot of teams are going to be like, no, you need to give us a team option, and that's, they want to own the upside. That's natural.
Matt or Alf, whichever one of you guys wants to go.
Yeah, I thought that, and I said so on one of our podcasts, one of our last podcasts, that I thought that maybe a team, maybe even the Miami Dolphins, would have taken this new environment, this new budget environment where the cap is at $182 million, and say, you know what, and try to pull a fast one on one of these guys, and maybe say like, wine and dine Juju Smith-Schuster and say, look, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to give you a 5-year deal, and then just put it in front of him. And when he reads it, it says 5 years, $50 million, and he's like, what? And all of them are just going to start looking at each other and say, you know what? Just give us a 1-year deal, and we'll go back in when everybody has money again. I thought that this could have been a really good environment to try to take advantage of some of that and try to get a guy that you had a conviction on a long-term deal. Because in year 2 and 3 of those deals, you're going to have one of the best value contracts in the NFL. Kind of like what Devonta Parker's contract has turned out to be. So, evidently these guys are going to bet on themselves for this year, and they're not going to take under market deals.
Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, like what everybody else has been saying, nobody's liking the numbers that they're getting, right? So, I mean, you're going to bet on yourself at the end of the day and just say, I can, give me 1 year and then next year I'll go back in. But I'm not going to settle for anything less. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
It's really I think it's interesting that we haven't at least seen one domino, right? Like not one of them has at least signed. And I think you'd think that maybe all of them are just waiting for one of them to make the move. Like one of them is just saying, like they're all sitting there like, all right, once this one makes the move, then the rest of us will know what the market has to be and what it's going to end up being for us. It's kind of interesting that they're just not sitting there like, all right, well, screw it. I'll take this 1-year deal. I'll take this 2-year deal, team option type of thing, like CK said. And then, just be able to dip myself back in because it's supposed to get to what, 250 million by 2025 is the rumor. So it's like you dip in if you have 2 good years, then you can be a part of that. Do you think, to bring some controversy, and I'll start with Alf on this, do you think that maybe the uncertainty at quarterback might be another issue in the rumor mill, at least with what's happening with potentially getting some of these guys to agree to 1 or 2 year deals down here?
That's a good question.
Or is it strictly money? I guess that's the other question.
I think it's probably just strictly money, but we know that a couple of these guys are friends with Tua Tagovailoa, and they do look at him as a talent. These guys are not the talking heads that you see on Fox Sports or ESPN who are constantly speculating. Oh my God! I don't watch
ESPN, man. It's garbage TV.
If you really think about it, Tua Tagovailoa threw 48 picks last year in the first 3 games that he played. And, none of these guys are thinking that way. A lot of these guys, they know their agents, they know the scouts. They talk to the scouts and they ask, hey, man, is this guy any good? Or they talk to their buddies in college. And their buddies in college tell them, hey, man, when Tua comes out in a couple of years, that guy's a talent. And that's who they believe. And trust me when I tell you, before we heard all this nonsense and for this run of, what they call mediocre play. I call it above average rookie play. Before all that, these guys all thought that he was going to be that he was a massive talent. So I'm pretty sure all these guys still have faith in Tua Tagovailoa. I don't think they have. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it's just the money.
I still remember when Tyreek Hill admitted that he thought Patrick Mahomes was nothing special. Exactly. It's like trash. I'm like, so I sincerely, even if they don't think Tua has it, I sincerely doubt that what they think has any basis on whether he does or doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's just about money. It's just money.
You gotta try to pose some question. Juan's out, so I gotta bring some potential maybe DW controversy.
Okay, here's some controversy for you, Kai. Let me bring it in myself. So there was a proposed idea, and I kind of like the idea of it because it would actually
Who was it proposed by? Twitter?
Yes, it was proposed by Twitter, but you know what? I have to still. It's a good conversation starter anyway, so we're gonna run with it. So there was a tweet that I saw, and I thought it would be interesting because it would essentially take care of 2 problems Miami has. We've been seeing reports that the Panthers are all in on Deshaun Watson. They're locked in. They want him. So let's say Miami does get involved, but not so that they acquire Watson. How about we give them pick number 3, we get number 8, and Brian Burns, and then they can create a package that will give them Deshaun Watson to the Panthers.
But wouldn't you think that a team like Houston might want Brian Burns?
I don't know what they want. If they're tanking, they probably want as little asset as possible.
Yeah, but this is a guy that's Brian. He was a rookie this year or last year. I can't remember, to be perfectly honest with you. I just know he's still on his rookie deal, and you're going to go after and you're going to try like if you're the Texans.
How badly did the Panthers want Watson?
Well, I mean, they attempted to get Matthew Stafford. Did they
He's
not?
going
They don't
into
want Teddy.
Burns is going into his third year, by the way.
Okay, so yeah, he's a 2-year guy still on a rookie contract. I mean, you have to at least try if you're the Panthers, but you're not going to. I mean, I don't think anyone here realistically thinks that the Panthers have a shot at Deshaun Watson with the number 8 pick. There's no chance.
Anybody can get creative.
With the number 8 pick, you'd have to do what Philly did with us.
Because we get Brian Burns and 8 and something else maybe. They get 3 and maybe another thing, and then they can package 3 and some other stuff of their own to the Texans. That's the proposed trade.
Alf seems to like it. Alf, your thoughts?
It's interesting, but you gotta. I like Brian Burns, the player. In my opinion, he's been much better as a pro than he was at Florida State as a prospect coming out.
It's garbage school, anyways.
But so it's tempting.
I agree.
But I guess what you got to think about is whether, because number 3 can mean a pick in this year's draft and a first rounder next year, or do you think Brian Burns is worth a first rounder next year?
He's already his rookie year. He got rookie year 7.5 sacks. Last year 9 sacks. That would take care of the pass rush problem.
He's a good player. So it's you're probably right in the ballpark. I would really have to think about that trade.
They probably have to throw in one more thing.
I was gonna say like a second or something like that to kind of sweeten the deal because, again, like it's the number 3 overall pick, and I think. Not only do we
if
all
Miami's
know this,
looking for a wide receiver, they can get Jalen Waddle or one of those guys at 8. I guarantee it.
Yeah, of course. But let's say that you go out there and you make let's just hypothetically say in this world, you go out and you get a guy like Kenny Galladay. He doesn't sign with the Giants. You put him on a 2-year deal or whatever it is, right? And then you go and you make that deal. You move down to 8, and the 2 guys taken were Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, and you're left with Jamar Chase. And then let's say there's not a Kyle Pitts there. What do you do at 8? Because you're not going to draft Chase. For what reason? You're not going to draft Jamar Chase and have the same player and Jamar Chase, Kenny Galladay, Devontae Parker, and Preston Williams all at the same time?
You trade Devontae Parker.
With that amazing contract? Yeah, right. What are you going to like? You have to think about that. That he's on an outstanding deal right now.
Nothing is ever perfect, Kai. You take what you can get your hands on. So. And besides, again, we're in a situation.
Can't get his hands on anything.
So. We're in a situation where remember what the situation is with the draft right now. We've been hearing reports that there's going to be at least 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10. So Trevor Lawrence is number 1.
Top 6.
Plain and simple. Top. Okay, tops. There you go. CK just made it even easier. Top 6. 4 quarterbacks taken. So you imagine that Penei Sewell is at least one of those guys. So that's 5. Maybe Patrick Surtain. Number 6, I don't know. I'm just throwing names out there right now. And then for 7 and 8,
but you go on a corner again?
I'm not us, not Miami.
Oh.
I'm saying in the top 6 picks.
Oh, you're saying like we trade down. I was like, you go for
the top 6. I mean, if the top 6 picks, Patrick Surtain, maybe he's one of them. I'm just throwing names out there because I don't know like what the draft projection could be. But at least one of those guys, and I sincerely doubt that there's going to be every team who is looking at Jamar Chase and saying, you know what, he's not quite as good as Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle in a vacuum. Because they're going to look at Jamar Chase, they're going to remember how absolutely dominant he was, and not every team is in a situation where they desperately need speed on the field. Like even Kansas City, I don't think they need another speed receiver. They could probably use somebody who's more physical right now. So Jamar Chase will be perfect for them. So I'm saying, and I'm not saying Kansas City's going to get him. I'm saying that there are going to be teams who are looking for a physical receiver, and they will have Chase projected higher than Smith or Waddle. So at least one of those guys at least is going to be available for Miami to pick at 8. Just based on logic.
I love you, Royal. CK, what are your thoughts on the wide receivers coming out? Do you have to go after one of those top 3 guys in your mind there? Or I know you mentioned Kyle Pitts earlier. Love that, Gator. Everything like that.
Pitts may fall, you don't know.
Listen, if Pitts somehow falls to like 18 and we pick the receiver, for me, I would still love to get him if that somehow happens in our.
I still want to hear CK's thoughts on my trade proposal first before he jumps into that.
So all right, so then go into that. You think the Brian Burns trading, Carolina trading 8 and Brian Burns and probably a sweetener
something
up to 3 to try to be able to get Deshaun Watson in the Panthers' minds.
I think it wouldn't necessarily be Brian Burns to the Dolphins. I think you had the right response where they're going to have to trade. They're going to have to trade a lot to Houston in order to get Deshaun Watson. The Panthers move up to 3, and then they got to get Deshaun Watson.
Well, they have to trade a lot to us to get number 3.
They do, but then again, how much? Because the Dolphins are faced with a situation where they can get a guy at 3 or they can move down to 8, and so they have a situation where they're have 2 or 3 guys that they want. 2 of them being Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle. I think it could be Kyle Pitts there. We'll see. I'm not sure. Jamar Chase, I know that this is right up Chris Greer's alley as far as Jamar Chase is concerned. We can talk all we want about, it doesn't fit. This isn't what we need, blah, blah, blah. Listen, that with these guys, a lot of that also goes out the window. And Jamar Chase is a talent. He's a young talent, and Chris Greer is probably going to love him. So they have a group of players that they could just go ahead and take 1 at 3. Or they could trade down and maybe get the same exact guy, at number 8. And so whatever they get, moving from 3 to 8 might be viewed at some point to be like sort of gravy. And so the move from 3 to 8 might not necessarily cost Carolina. If it costs Carolina an arm and a leg, then the whole thing's falling apart anyway.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much they can give. So if they're in this hypothetical situation, would Brian Burns be going to Miami or would he be going to Houston? I don't think he'd be going to Miami. I think that the Dolphins don't value speed rushers the way that others do. And I think that Brian Burns, he is highly athletic, and he is a good all-around player. I think he's been a good NFL player. But he is a speed rusher when you look at his what he does to get to the quarterback. And I'm not sure that the Dolphins really are about that as far as valuing it highly. So I don't think it would be Burns, but maybe it could be somebody like Robbie Anderson.
Christian McCaffrey.
Well, that's going to the Texans. Trust me when I say you're trying to get Deshaun Watson out of them. Christian McCaffrey is not the asset that's going to Miami. So I think that it could be somebody like it's not just going to be Robbie Anderson, but an $8 million receiver like Robbie Anderson who notches your deep threat, or checks your box for deep threat, which is something that Miami sorely needs right now. It could be somebody like that along with some draft considerations. I think that I would look more in that area as opposed to a speed rusher. And yeah, I kind of tantalize people on Twitter about Christian McCaffrey, and it's fun to think about. But let's face it, you're trying to get Deshaun Watson. Christian McCaffrey's not going to the Dolphins. Okay, it's going to the Houston Texans to try and get Deshaun Watson out of them.
Do you even think that's realistic? And I guess I'll go with Alf now. Do you think that's realistic for the Carolina Panthers to get that? I think everyone thinks that the draft starts probably at 3. Well, I guess depending on what the Jets really do, but potentially the draft would really start at 3. Do you think it's realistic for the Panthers to even try to get Deshaun Watson, or do you think they'll have to settle for one of the guys coming out of the draft?
I really do believe, and there's some information behind this, that the Texans are not entertaining any offers unless they can replace Deshaun Watson. So you can put 2 and 2 together, and those are really easy tea leaves to read, which tells me you got to have a quarterback in hand to hand them, or you got to give them the asset that's going to get the quarterback. So I go back to what I've been saying. I think it's the Jets and driver's seat, and then Miami, really. And then Miami can play broker. If there is another team, if Miami is truly out of it,
Carolina. They keep saying it. The report is out there. They're locked in, whatever the heck that means.
Well,
They're
that's a really easy one for the Dolphins to work on, because if I have 3, I'm thinking I can do this thing of where we have 2 first-round picks in the first round 3 years in a row. We could do it once again next year by just selling number 3 for a pick this year and a first rounder next year. So could it be Carolina, or does Carolina need that first rounder from next year to put into the deal?
So that's something that you can bring up. So let's say you're the GM for the Carolina Panthers. You have to acquire the number 3 overall pick from Miami so that you can give it to the Texans later. What assets can you afford to give Miami so that you still have enough to give to Houston?
Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe they're going to have to give their first rounder this year, which is number 8, and maybe a couple of second rounders. And that'll get them number 3, because I think they're going to have to package that number 1 next year. And then Carolina can come in with a really strong offer of number 3, the number 1 next year, a number 1 after that, and the player. And that one player could be, and that's like the signature player, McCaffrey or Brian Burns. One of those 2 guys. And that's pretty strong. That's a strong
Okay, so wait,
offer.
you're giving them, so Miami gets 8 and what?
2
and
second rounders.
2 seconds?
Yeah, 2 seconds.
Throw in Robbie Anderson for good measure.
That might help a little bit.
I wouldn't want to trade for anything unless it includes a first rounder next year if I'm trading down from 3, especially if it's to 8, 7, 6, whichever one of the ones it is. I would much rather stay put and try to get one of those trades, because I think it's going to be valuable. Of course, a bunch of people a bunch of reports already coming out that it's going to be valuable. People are going to want to trade for that. And then again, it just depends on what the Jets do. If the Jets sit there and they're just like, all right, you know what, we're completely fine with Sam Darnold or whatever the situation is, and let's say they draft a Penei Sewell at 2 or they draft a wide receiver at 2, you're going to be in that position at number 3 where there's going to be a lot of people banging on your door and calling your phone if you're Chris Greer to trade up to that number 3 pick. And you could get a lot more. You can get another first round pick next year, which let's say Tua does suck, right? Let's say in this theoretical world, right? Tua sucks again for another year. You want to get rid of him. You have 2 first rounders next year to try to leverage to get another guy. I just think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I actually got a question.
And you got to think, and I'll let Matt get in here, but you really have to be careful if you're Miami and you have number 3, because you got to think about it like this. There could be a team somewhere down the road, as far as down the draft order, that looks at themselves and say, you know what, we have a really good roster, and we just need to get a quarterback in here, and we are absolutely in love with Trey Lance. What do you say? Like, let's say, for example, Minnesota. Minnesota has what pick?
It's like 18.
18?
Yeah.
What if Minnesota just says, look, we absolutely love Trey Lance. 3 first-round picks for number 3. You have to say yes, don't you?
If they're throwing 3
first-round picks for this kid, yeah,
of course.
I mean, actually, can we flip those? Flip 2 of those first-round picks, maybe for something else, maybe like Christian McCaffrey or something?
No,
that's the situation. Then you're not trading away 3 to go down to 8 and then collect first-round picks and then come back later and be like, hey, so I know I took your first-round pick.
Yeah, I get you.
But now I want to trade it for Christian McCaffrey. But at the same time, it's not like, let's say you do that trade with Minnesota. We've all seen and we all know that going out there and trading, and as much as the Rams get a lot of crap for this, they trade a first-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. It works. If you can use one of those first to leverage to get some veteran player, or even if it's someone on the rookie deal that it has been proven, you would rather do that than get someone who isn't proven at this level. So if you get a deal like that, you get 3 first-round picks, Hassan Reddick to the Panthers per Adam Schefter, then you can go out there and you can try to get a veteran guy. Your thoughts on that, CK? Your eyes lit up there. I know you have to go,
that's
but
surprising. Well, I mean, for a team that's supposed to, well, again, this is about which teams seem like they're keeping things on hold and which teams are kind of moving on, and that's an aggressive move for the Carolina Panthers. So I'm kind of wondering.
You can always trade them, sign and trade.
That's not happening. I think, but it brings up, hey, the whole Brian Burns thing. Maybe they can trade him now because they have Hassan Reddick. But it's an interesting move because it's definitely a headline move. And so the more headline moves that these teams make that are supposedly interested in Deshaun Watson, the more I think maybe Deshaun Watson is not ending up getting traded at all, or to the one that is really kind of, yes, Miami is doing things. Miami is clearly engaging in a lot of roster maintenance moves right now. And they're knocking them out one by one. They're knocking them down one by one. And there are all these sort of bottom of the roster maintenance types moves. But they're not really putting the whole picture together yet. And maybe there isn't a picture to put together, but I think there probably is. And so they're the ones that are holding off. And I think that's still interesting. I think now Carolina going ahead and making an aggressive move like that is something to look at.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal worth $8 million per Adam Schefter. So He just goes and
that's cheap. That's cheap. That's a lot cheaper than this guy was like a terror from a sack standpoint and production standpoint this year. He's a 1-year wonder, but
the new economy.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting deal.
That's kind of like the Shaq Barrett deal from days ago when he had gone to the
years
Bucs,
ago. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, or that original contract. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That is interesting. I think that's a good deal for the Panthers, probably.
You know what else? That lowers the price tag on Davion Clowney.
Yeah, he's going to be looking at a 1-year deal, and it's probably going to be in that neighborhood, maybe a little. He's going to insist on a higher.
I'm sure he's going to insist, but do you want to make money this year or no?
Well, he'll wait, and he'll wait till a team gets desperate. He would probably have no problem waiting until a team gets desperate in training camp, and goes ahead and has to do it. So I think that he'll insist, and it'll probably, it'll probably have to be 9 or something like that,
And let me say the obvious. Some of these guys are not interested in no off-season program for a 1-year deal.
Yep.
So a lot of these guys are saying, that's nice. Like, what do you have for me? 1 year, $8 million? Okay, that's nice.
I'll talk to you in
July.
I'll see you later. Yeah.
I'll talk to you in July or in August, and we'll see where we're at then with those $8 million. And that's it. And it's as simple as that. A lot of guys, now you put $40 million in front of somebody, they'll say, sure, when is the first OTA, But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
But I've been sitting here thinking about it. The more that I think about it, I don't see there's any way possible that Miami picks at number 3. I just don't see it.
It just doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense right now.
Of course they could. Jesus, when did these trades ever materialize? Just because we think.
But would you? Okay, but let's say that you get an offer for another a first round pick next year. You really want to stay pat?
Do we have one?
Well, we don't really know, but hey, we're just living in a theoretical world, CK. We're trying to be happy.
You're falling for it. You're eating the cheese. Every year, every draft, we say, oh, yeah, they're going to trade down, or, oh, yeah, they're going to have these offers to trade down. And then on draft day comes, they make the damn pick, and they're like, yeah, no, nobody called us. It happens every year. And listen, it's trade downs don't happen just because you think that they should, and just because you think everybody's going to go up and try to get this quarterback or that. Listen, they might be getting calls, and Chris Greer's looking at the chart and picking it down and like, nah, that's not working for me. And then just the day goes by and they sit down and make their pick. They're really, they are sticklers about their. That should be your base case right now, is that they pick at 3. Because it's always far-fetched to get that trade down offer that's going to work for you. That's the base case. That's like the 50% case right now. Is that they're gonna take down that trade, or they're gonna take a guy at number 3. So we should be figuring out who that would be.
So who are you picking at 3 then? So
right now, I mean, a short list. It's always a short list. I could go.
I want a specific player.
No, it's so listen. They've still got a lot to do in free agency. It could be Kyle. It's probably going to be Kyle Pitts or Devonta Smith, and with a lean toward Kyle Pitts right now. But we could head into to draft day, and I decide, maybe I'm leaning more toward Devonta Smith right now, just based on what the team needs. I think they're both going to impact the team. Jalen Waddle can impact the team a whole hell of a lot. That he should probably be on the short list. I'm not sure that I'd have Penei Sewell really on the short list, but I like him. It's not that I dislike him. But I think that I think that right now I'd probably be leaning toward Pitts because he's just the more unique player. You don't really see him. Well, a lot of people say they've never seen him. A lot of people think that Mel Kiper says he's never graded a tight end this high. I think part of that's because maybe he's being graded as a tight end and not as a receiver, and maybe we should be start to grade him as a receiver a little bit more. But yeah, I think that he's a guy you don't see very often, and you look back 5 years later and you're like, wow, maybe we should have gotten that guy. Because 5 years after the fact is when you start seeing those stats of only 3 players from the 2021 draft are still with their original team, and and you're looking at it and it's like, Christ, how about we should have gotten the guy that we were pretty sure is amazing, and instead of we played the games and we're like, but this fits exactly right, and I think that that's probably where I would head.
Matt, what about you? You have one guy, and we're at 3. No trade down. This doesn't exist. We're in CK's world. At 3.
It is my world.
Actually, I just talked about this with Alfredo on Friday. I can't imagine it'd be amazing having Kyle Pitts on this team. I mean, if you had Kyle Pitts, if we were able to get somebody like Juju this year, and you have Devontae Parker, Albert Wilson, Preston Williams. I mean, I'd be very excited about who Tua is going to be throwing to. Very, very excited. I think that the most excited I think I've been in probably 2-3 years about who we have as receivers. So Kyle Pitts is definitely my guy, but Devontae Smith too. I'm high on him. I think he's awesome. I think he's great. I'm not really super. I'm somewhat concerned about the length and all that weight size, but I don't really care. There's always room for somebody to do something that's never been done before or seen before. So, I mean,
it's not never. That's harsh.
I'm just saying.
Marvin Harrison, Chad Johnson, these guys. I mean, a bunch of the Isaac Bruce. Yeah, that's what I said. Chad Johnson.
Yeah, I know. I was just repeating it. I'm a big Ocho Cinco guy. I just have to.
No, I mean, Isaac
Ocho Cinco doesn't exist, man.
The exact same. He was the exact same, and Marvin Harrison. I mean, it's been done plenty of times before. I mean, it's not even that uncommon, really.
Alf, number 3.
Yeah, number 3. The more that I think about it, and I know that Lewis said this earlier, that if they. And I know that they're preparing some of the money to sign some of these guys long-term, guys that are on the roster right now, Jerome Baker and Mike Gesicki. If they drafted Kyle Pitts, that Mike Gesicki might be gone. I think that you draft Kyle Pitts to keep Mike Gesicki. Can you imagine running Y ISO with those 2 guys, one in line and one out wide?
Yes, that was my other pipe. That was my other pipe dream. The Gronk.
Or running ace formations with those 2 guys, And I think that the Patriots kind of laid it down today. Well, because those signings are official today. They officially have the 2nd and the 4th highest paid tight ends in the NFL. They don't think that there's a problem with that. We're going to have a quarterback on a rookie deal, unless something else happens. So yeah, why not? So I would say the most unique player in the draft is Kyle Pitts. So absolutely.
So that's what you want at 3 then in this scenario. At 3, Kyle Pitts, send it in.
Gun to my head, I have to pick at number 3. It's Kyle Pitts because I think that I could finesse 18 for a wide receiver, and there's some guys I like at 36 for a wide receiver.
Yep.
Lewis?
I'm picking Kyle Pitts. Seriously,
We have a clean 5-0 sweep then.
If it's 3 overall, then just based on raw talent, raw potential to create something amazing with the offense. And again, I know what we have at wide receiver. I still feel like that the need is not quite as strong as we think it is. And besides, again, this is a very deep class. I know CK's been saying like every year is a deep year for wide receiver, but this year I feel like even more so. You can easily find somebody in the second round who can be incredible at wide receiver if necessary. So, but Kyle Pitts, he does everything you would need out of a wide receiver. He can do some tight end things. He can line up inside. If he can beat Darren Waller, then that is a massive, massive win for Miami. And then you put him with Mike Gesicki. Let's assume that Alfredo's right and they pay Gesicki anyway, and they keep Pitts. Oh my God, what an offense you have to function with now. And I am going to go ahead and just say Tua's going to be the guy. But if you give him Pitts and Gesicki at the same time, Tua's job just got 3 times easier. You're gonna be able to have somebody who you can throw in the middle of the field, be comfortable that they're going to catch it, or you can line him up outside because he's going to be able to beat these guys, these corners. And of course, you still have Devontae Parker. You still have Preston Williams. You can find a slot receiver type guy in the draft. No problem. There's a ton of slot receivers in this draft. And I'm still not convinced that we're not going to get anything out of Albert Wilson. I still think he's got something there for at least one season. So you don't even have to have that emergency, do it right now priority. You can wait a bit and see what happens. So that's why at number 3, I'm picking Kyle Pitts, even over Devonta Smith and over Jalen Waddle, just because that pure potential is unparalleled in this draft. There are even some saying that Kyle Pitts is the best player in this draft, bar none. So it's kind of hard to pass that up.
Being a Gators fan and getting to watch him on the field every single game was like a luxury, absolute luxury. He's the only reason why Kyle Trask could even be in any draft.
What about Kadarius Toney? The only reason, Kai?
Kadarius Toney is a baller.
Okay, so not the only reason.
Yeah, I guess. But Kadarius Toney is a baller. You disagree with me?
I never said I disagreed. I just said that you can't be the only reason if he's good too.
Yeah, I know, but like Kadarius also had been dealing with a lot of stuff at UF for a while, and there's of course a lot of background stuff. It's the same stuff that Antonio Callaway was doing.
Oh, good, so he can drop. He can drop out of the first round.
There, we have someone on the team that drops already, so if he drops later on in the first, it's okay. You know, he drops in the second round, that's fine. At least he'll catch the ball. Sorry, you reminded me of drops, and I just started thinking about 19. So,
by the way, I took a 5-minute break.
Wear 19?
No one. I put it in the. I was driving and I heard you say put it in the dishonor Ring of Honor thing. Please don't ever give that number 10. What if 19 switches to a different number? He starts catching the ball. Then he'll get his name back. But for
you
now,
already gave him his name, Kai. I'm never gonna let that go.
I had to say it. I don't know what you want.
I'm never gonna let that go. Never gonna let that go.
I had to say it. I don't know what you want from me. Anyways, Alf, you were saying something?
Yeah, I took a 5-minute break, so I didn't hear. Did you guys give Robert Foster any love or no?
We have not touched Robert Foster.
We're waiting on you.
He played with Tua for a little bit. Woohoo! Connection confirmed. He is the quarterback. We got our Alabama wide receiver.
It looks like since they were in on John Ross, it looks like they just made a list and said, all right, who was good like 2 years ago and was like really, really flashy and is fast and cheap. And they plugged that into the computer, and the computer came out with 2 names. John Ross went elsewhere, and then they said, okay, I guess we'll take Robert Foster.
His name is Robert
So
Foster.
are we not going to get a yard work on Robert Foster?
No, you're not. You already got one. You got one of Benardrick McKinney. You got one of Malcolm Brown because he's just a favorite of mine. He's a nice player that I like watching play. But
so you don't care about no Robert Foster? Like,
Robert Foster's not getting a yard work. No.
Oh.
Maybe Robert Foster can do some yard work. Like for us.
Maybe he can.
Okay, we'll leave that part to Juan. Juan will do that part of it. He does film too.
Have we talked about the centers that are still available in free agency right now?
David
I think we
Andrews.
touched on it a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's kind of just.
Is it still the same? Like nobody's
David
left,
Andrews.
right?
No, pretty much.
Okay.
It's David. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like it is just David Andrews at this point.
Is it worrisome if we don't sign any of these centers during free agency, or are we okay with it? Going
Creed Humphrey.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's worrying if we don't have one of these guys.
Yeah, but we're just back to that thing, that dangerous game of earmarking.
I just don't want Daniel Kilgore starting for my team again. That's my base. I'm tired.
Nobody ever gives love to him in the draft, and I don't know why. Maybe there was a brief moment where people actually mentioned his name, but the Stanford center Drew Dalman is Chris Dalman's son, and I don't know if you guys remember or know Chris Dalman, kind of a legendary lineman, NFL lineman, and Drew Dalman is a real talent. He's an especially the reason that everybody thought that Corey Linsley is the best center in the NFL is because of his lateral mobility and what he can do jumping off the snap and getting out into space, or just getting out into zone. His range, his mobility was special, and then he mixed in really good work in the other areas of the game. If you want a guy that has that, I mean, I know for a fact that there are all these Shanahan systems out there right now, and they're springing up like weeds. And they all have to find a center that can do this, and it's tough. It's really tough for them to do that. So that you got to look at conversions and stuff like that. I know that Drew Dalman's probably one of the few that they're going to earmark and say that he can do that. And I think that if Miami wants to run some outside zone, then they ought to think about him. I mean, I know I'm Creed Humphrey. I've been driving the train on him for 2 years, but I think that they could also think about Drew Dalman. Certainly Quinn Miners, we know about them. But if you want to have one of those fire outside zone running systems where you get a lot of space. It's just, you ever watch a team and you're like, you watch it, you're used to watching the Dolphins. It's like 3 yards cloud of dust, right? You ever go and watch some of these other teams and you're like, where the fuck does that spacing come from? Like you're like, of course that running back was able to run for 6 yards on that play. Like, where the hell did that come from? It's scheme, and it's the way that they get the spacing with a lot of them. Do that outside zone stuff. And I think that it's something to think about if you're Miami, especially marries well with Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback.
Yeah. Now let me ask you something, Chris, and maybe this is something we could get into on our podcast tonight. But as I watched Malcolm Brown film, first of all, Sean McVay is a hell of a play caller. Second of all they do is run inside outside zone.
That's it.
So does that say anything about that signing, that maybe they're going to some stuff like that this coming season?
Absolutely, 100%. Eric Studesville comes from that background. All right, he's Kubiak and those guys. I mean, Eric Studesville does have that background. So if he's really getting more of a chance to design more of the offense and have more of the say on who we get at running back, and I do think that he's got a hell of a lot to say this year on who we get at running back. I think there are some people looking at the running backs that we acquired and like, did Studesville sign off on that guy? No. That's why that happened. What happened. And so I think that he's going to get more say in the design and structure of the entire, from personnel all the way into the plays. And I think he is a zone guy. So I think that they're going to look for that. I think that they're going to look for a little bit more in some of their linemen. They would like to be able to get that mobility.
So before I bow out in about 10 minutes and hand the reins off to Lewis, I do want to ask, like, if there's one thing that surprised you guys most about free agency thus far, and I'll start with Matt. If there's one thing that surprised you the most since the tampering legal, because we all know that illegal tampering happens anyways, but the legal tampering period opened at noon on Monday. What's the biggest thing that surprised you? And I want to say besides the Patriots spending money, because that's just too obvious of an answer. So what's the biggest thing that surprised you since the legal tampering period opened?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I would have to think about it. Let's see. I think the most surprising thing was Dolphins wise. I think Jacoby Brissett was the most surprising thing that happened. I didn't see it happening. I thought he would try to go somewhere where he had a better chance to maybe still start. But like CK pointed out, his salary for us is he's clearly going to be a backup. Maybe he'll jump in for some short game plays, but I think that was the most surprising thing for me as a Dolphins fan. I didn't see Jacoby Brissett even mentioned once.
Yeah. Lewis?
I mean, if anything has surprised me about free agency, I guess it would be that they didn't go after the top 3 guys first. They're going after smaller guys. They sign Emmanuel Sanders. They get Nelson Aguilar. They get John Ross. They get all these other guys, and mainly the top 3 guys. Like, I know why, the money aspect of it, but if these 3 are supposedly so special, so wonderful, then I figured that they would have been picked up first. They wouldn't have been waiting this long, and even now, still waiting. It's very possible they may go all the way into training camp if this money thing is going to be a situation. So, quite frankly, I guess it's that the top guys are still out there while all the role players are getting paid.
CK?
I think it's the actual numbers that are coming in across the board. I kind of expected players to stick to their guns a little bit more and get bigger numbers. I think you've got a lot of line crossers right now that are going ahead and taking the out of fear probably taking the smaller numbers, and Jacoby Brissett's one of those. Looking at the deal that he got, looking at the deal that Justin Coleman got. In other years, these could have been bigger deals, they went ahead and did it. Adam Butler, same thing. They went ahead and crossed and signed. And
that's actually something we haven't talked about. Adam Butler. We haven't talked about this guy.
But I think that the Jacoby Brissett thing only surprises in as much as the affordability factor. Because we talked about Jacoby a fair amount on our podcast on 3 Yards. And it was an obvious answer for the Dolphins, I think, at the backup quarterback spot, except for the fact that what his salary history is, and what how he's been thought of in the past. And so I just didn't think Miami would go for that money. But then he took the low deal. That's the surprise. And the same thing with Adam Butler. They were able to convince him to come in and basically take over Benito Jones's role. Benito Jones got 50 snaps last year. So Adam Butler is going to come in and he's got to be competing with 3 guys who hogged all the snaps at DT when there weren't that many snaps to begin with. And so they managed to get these guys at their price, and they managed to make it work. And I think that's the surprise. I'm kudos to that.
I think my surprise ties in a lot with what, like, the first part of what you said is kind of like the numbers, because it's just that I don't know. I was expecting that maybe, just maybe, we would see some of these again, at least the wide receivers signed for one major contract. I'm shocked that all 3 of the big name guys that we've been hearing. I mean, we said Juju's probably need a deal. Curtis Samuel's going to command numbers, and it's all the things that we've been hearing in rumor. And now all of a sudden it's just like, all right, well, yeah, they could sign a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, possibly dip their toes back in the market. I just think it's crazy that that's something that's truly happened. Like, it's just like, all right, well, you know what? We're going to sit and wait. And maybe it's one of those situations where it's like, it's good. Maybe at the end of the day for some of these receivers, and I want to ask this as well, and I'll start with Lewis here quickly. Maybe it's a good thing for some of these wide receivers that they're not, going out there and signing these mega deals. What if they go out there like a Juju, who didn't have an outstanding year last year, but he still had a good year, where let's say you go to a team on a 1-year deal and you just ball out and the cap rises again, you're going to make an insane amount of money. What do you think? Do you think that that's good for them as well?
It's good in theory, but if you go out there on a 1-year deal and you absolutely flop for one reason or another, they don't care if the team you go to has a crappy QB or not. Your production was X, Y, or Z. And so if you don't do well, you actually lose money. You don't gain money. So you're betting. That's why the term 1-year deal, you're betting on yourself. Anybody who takes a 1-year deal, you are betting on yourself that you are so special and so good that you'll be able to prove to teams, look, I went to another team for 1 year. I still balled out. You should pay me more money now that you have more money to spend. So it's a very dangerous game they're playing.
CK?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually it's the receivers that are asking for the 1-year deal. So, and I think that they are, to some extent, yes, they are betting on themselves. But I think they know. I think they see plenty of writing on the wall as far as the draft is concerned and what the budgets are out there. And so, listen, there are a lot of headline free agents that have been signed and got some pretty big deals. I mean, you look at the juxtaposition between the wide receivers and the pass rushers in this draft. All the top pass rushers got signed. They got signed to deals that are like upwards 13, 14, 15, $16 million a year. And
not
Leonard
all the
Williams.
pass rushers. We still got Clowney.
Leonard Williams.
Oh yeah, that's a ridiculous deal. 21 million a year.
So, I mean, I think that when we bring up, that's probably the proof in the pudding whenever people jawbone about the wide receiver class and talk about, it's so strong. And so, and I always look at that a little skeptical, but I think the proof between the difference between the wide receiver class and the pass rusher class is what happened in free agency. All those pass rushers got their money and the wide receivers can't get shit. Sorry about that. And I think that's I think that kind of tells you where the NFL are leaning on that.
Yep.
I just saw the dollar sign flying away with the YouTube monetization.
It's not like that, Louis. Damn,
It's not like
they're
that.
not
It's
that
not
strict.
like that. Yeah.
Don't you have a 3-second button? You could just
No, it's unfortunately just so you guys know, the Giants have been in talks with the Lion Star free agent Kenny Golladay. Sources said expect to bring him in for a visit prior to signing him to a deal.
That's Kenny Golladay who wants the Giants. I know this. This is Kenny Golladay who wants the Giants badly.
He just really wants Daniel Jones, man. It's the best quarterback he's ever seen.
He wants to be in New York. And the Jets already shot their wad with Corey Davis. So I mean, I think that oh shit, did I do it again? Anyway,
are we in trouble with monetization now?
No, it's not.
It's not like that.
It's really late in the show. I've got to get going.
It's not like that. You're good. You're good.
But yeah, Kenny Golladay, he really wants the Giants badly. I know he doesn't really want Miami. I mean, I'm told that pretty straightforward.
Well, that's okay. Then I don't want him either. We never wanted him in the first place.
Also, Solomon Thomas, not to say these are big deals. Solomon Thomas agreed to a 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Grudens, so that's also a situation that has happened. Not that that's like one of the biggest deals, but it's a deal. Tom Pelissaro tweeted it out, so
it's so weird watching them do everything that they do. Just is like the opposite of what you should do. It's really strange. Wow, this is like Matt Millen all over again. It's really odd.
Yeah, and Alf, I was about to. You want to say something real quick before we switch it off?
Yeah, the Raiders did sign Yannick Ngakoue, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Again, why? No.
Yeah, it's extremely weird that whole saga last year of Yannick Ngakoue on 3 teams, who is supposedly a premier pass rusher, ends up with the Raiders, and then their first response, like I said it at the top of the show, like who says, all right, we got Yannick Ngakoue, we're going to go compete now because we're going to fix one of our issues, which is our pass rush. So what's the strength of the team line, offensive line? Okay, let's get rid of 4 of them. All 4. Let's get rid of 4 starters out of 5.
Well, they brought Richie back. Apparently, they brought Richie back.
Richie back, or did they? They got rid of Rodney Hudson and Gabe Jackson and Trent Brown and kept the guy who is literally insane.
insanely awesome.
All right, that's
Insanely insane.
we're gonna kick it off. Lewis is gonna host off the next half an hour here. CK, I know that you got to go. I think Alf, are you staying a little bit, or are you heading out?
Yeah, I'll stay a little bit until
I'll stay a little bit. Matt's going to be here. I'll be back at 7. Juan and Michael should also be back at 7. There are some other people, but want to give a quick shout out to one of the sponsors, Miami Grill, who did sponsor us along with Lewis Peters for this stream. So we're going to run that.
At Miami Grill, we've been delivering big favorites from big places for over 30 years. We use fresh ingredients that pack bold flavors, and we always deliver your food the way you like it. So tonight, don't just bring home dinner, bring home Miami.
And for a second there, we had no show. I was like, oh, okay, everybody go get Miami Grill. Show's over. Okay. All right. So
that is what everybody should be doing as soon as the show is over. Get some Miami Grill right before you watch the Heat game.
Yeah, some Philly cheesesteaks. All right. So, and yes, we are also sponsored by Lewis Peters. You can go to State Farm Lewis Peters. He'll give you the best quotes available. He'll be able to help you out. Give him a call, and he'll get you what you are looking for. All right. So,
very nice guy. Big sports guy. You could talk sports with him. I actually called him. I need a quote.
He's been hanging out in the chat all day long, and we are very appreciative that he's here watching us. And also for anybody who wants us to answer their questions, make sure that you are participating in the super chat. We'll be more than happy to go ahead and answer any questions if you have them. So go ahead and interact with us. Send us a little tip jar thing our way, and we'll be able to get to you. Okay, so now I already brought up the proposal for the potential trade to the Panthers, and I know that that's really more along the lines of draft talk than anything else, but this is where I'm going right now. So some folks are still getting frustrated that the Dolphins are not spending a lot of money in free agency, which I feel like is kind of counterintuitive considering that most of the complaints over the past several years is that we spend too much in free agency. So nobody's ever really happy on that front. But what I wanted to bring up was that if you have right now, from what I can tell, you have about $24 million in cap space left. That's an approximation. I don't have the exact numbers. After the signings that we have done, we have about 24 left. People are saying that Hassan Reddick was gotten really cheap at $8 million. If you give Hassan Reddick $8 million for Miami right now, you cut your available cap space by a third. And for all intents and purposes, if I'm understanding the math right, you need at least about $10 million or so to sign your draft class, which would mean that Miami can sign one guy at $8 million, sign the draft class for about 10. So that leaves you with about $6 million left in cap space for the rest of the season. So I feel like we're overestimating exactly how much money Miami has available. Do you think that that's the case here?
Well, I think that you got to understand what they have. If they have $24 million left, you need about roughly 12 to 13 for the draft class. If you're keeping all those picks, they might trade some of those picks. They might trade them for some players. Who knows? But you got to understand you need $4 million no matter what for the season, for emergencies. You don't know if you have to go out there and get a wide receiver that's available. That could be available in this market. There could be a really good wide receiver just sitting out there on the street in week 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're looking around, it's like, you know what, man, we could really use this one guy. All right, here's $3 million for the balance of the season. Come play for us. So realistically, they can stretch it if they work some deals. Supposedly they're trying to work a reworking of Benardrick McKinney's contract. So that would be something where they give him some money on the back end and try to alleviate some of his cap charge this year. So if they can open up a little bit of cap space, you could realistically still be in the market for one splashy player. But when I'm talking about splash, I'm not talking about $15, $16 million a year. We're talking somewhere around 10, 11, and they might even have to backload it to try to fit them under the cap. But if they want to make a splash move, they can, but it's just one splash move. That's it.
The best thing that Miami could probably do would be, I'm looking at over the cap right now just to try to get a better idea of everything that's going on right now. The best thing that Miami could do if they really want cap space, restructure Byron Jones, which he's taking a lot of cash. Maybe you want to try and see if you can restructure Xavier Howard. He wants more money. Okay, well, give him some more money up front here. That'll appease him for a little bit. Eric Flowers, again, he's making $10 million. If you trade him, you save $8. So there's that. And presumably we have these young guys who are going to be stepping in. We're supposedly going to invest more on the offensive line in the draft. So where does that leave Eric Flowers? Do you leave Solomon Kinley as a backup? Is that what his long-term goal is, to be a backup? I assumed we were going to make him the starting guard, either at left guard or at right guard now. So, and then of course you have Isaiah Wilson. If he works out, then Flowers becomes even more of a, he's an asset to be traded. He's expendable. So, and the list continues. Bobby McCain. I wish Miami would get another safety, like an actual safety. All due respect to Bobby McCain, he's not a safety. He's a nickel corner. And now they just went and got this other guy who actually is a nickel corner, instead of giving Bobby McCain the job back and just investing in a safety. So you could potentially move on from Bobby McCain if you need more cap space.
Although to be fair, I thought he had a really, really good 2020. Bobby McCain was pretty solid last year at safety after a rough, half season in 2019. So, I thought he was pretty good last year, but is he, I think that's a guy, that's a position that the Dolphins are absolutely in that building in Davie. They're eyeballing for an upgrade in the near future. I would say, if I had to bet, gun to my head, I think this is the last season that you see Bobby McCain playing safety for the Miami Dolphins.
Possibly. So, yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. There's not really a whole lot you can do aside from restructuring to actually make cap space if you want more guys. Emmanuel Ogbah, you can cut him for $7.5 million, but then you make the pass rushing situation even worse. McKinney, you're going to already...
He's a guy...
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, Emmanuel Ogbah is a guy that they've already earmarked, along with Jerome Baker and Mike Gesicki, as guys that, hey, we want to sit down when the season's over to get you signed up long term. So
right, so even that's out. So really, the flexibility that Miami has is not as much as we want to think it is. So that splashy move is not giving Juju Smith-Schuster the whole Brinks truck treatment. It can't happen because Miami needs a lot of cash in order to sign their draft class. So what about you, man? What about you, Matt? So what do you think of of the situation?
I'm okay with the deals that they've been making so far. I think the biggest thing it feels like to me,
are you frustrated that they're not going for bigger names?
No, because the bigger names that I think that I was kind of interested were in the wide receivers. And Curtis Samuel and Juju are still kind of there. So those are the two kind of names that I've been interested in. If some report comes out that, we didn't really have an offer near what they got or whatever, I'll evaluate that and be like, okay, maybe they never really made a real offer or something. But for the most part, I think what we've seen this year is the Dolphins have a plan, and they're really not going to go out of their way to, for anybody specifically. They might go a little above and beyond, but they're not going to just throw money anywhere like previous years. So I'm okay with that until we see. But like I said, my two people that I kind of wanted were Curtis Samuels or Juju, one of those two guys that maybe we can get.
All right. So I also want to bring this up just now because it's something that just broke. Kyle Long, who came out of retirement this offseason, is signing with the Kansas City Chiefs for $5 million for 1 year. So I guess everybody's running to get that ring in Kansas City now.
Yeah, but Kansas City's doing something very, very weird. They cut both tackles. Both tackles one was a Pro Bowler, the other one was a near Pro Bowler, and a lot of people thought was one of the best right tackles in football. They cut both of them, and they replaced them with a guard, which is strange in and of itself. Now, they do have Lucas Niang waiting on the wings, and if that name sounds familiar,
it does.
That's a guy that on our podcast last year, we huffed and puffed that we wanted in the second round. So, we do think highly of him. So I think the Chiefs actually do really think highly of him because they're handing him the right tackle job fresh off of a year where he opted out due to COVID because he has a health issue that he had to opt out of. So, the Chiefs are reworking their offensive line completely. But this is very interesting. Kyle Long coming out of retirement, it's a piece. It's like their third tackle and that they could sprinkle in to start. So smart move, really.
I mean, I imagine Kansas City is still like the front runner for all future Super Bowls. Let's be real. Even with all due respect to Tampa Bay, everybody's still going to be picking Kansas City to win the Super Bowl next year because Patrick Mahomes is just that incredible. So now If there are any bargain basement signings left to be made, I'm going to start with you, Matt. Is there anybody out there that you're thinking at, okay, so we have still a little space to work with here. Let's see if we can get this guy on a friendly deal. Let's try to avoid the likes of T.Y. Hilton, who we've already discussed.
Yeah, I don't think I have a lot of small people that I'm really in on right now. Like I said, I was mainly in on the wide receivers. I'd love to get what's this guy's center that's still available?
David Andrews.
David Andrews. I would love to get somebody like him. I don't know. I feel like we kind of missed out on Rodney Hudson. What did he go for, a 7th and a 3rd?
He went for a 3rd round pick.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if maybe we could have, matched that offer. But yeah, I mean, I know I keep harping on it, but there's a plan set, and I trust the plan right now. These last 2 years, especially last year, has shown that there's a plan set, and we're not gonna move off from it, and I'm okay with that. We've gotten better.
Okay, so we are officially saying that yes, we have gotten better, and it's not just we haven't gotten better because other guys haven't been replaced yet.
They're on the road. They're on the road to being better. They have a good start on being better.
All right.
As far as like bargain basement guys, I don't know how bargain basement they're going to be, because I thought they were going to get some money, but there's still a lot of wide receivers. You said T.Y. Hilton already, but has Brashad Perriman signed anywhere?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, like is he going to be bargain basement? Because he kind of fits a lot of what he's a buy low candidate. Like he shouldn't be asking for too much money. A guy that I thought was going to ask a little bit of money now, and I thought the Dolphins could have finessed him, was Josh Reynolds from the Rams, and he's evidently still out there. But if you look at the wide receiver position, like they're all out there. So can you get one of them on a 1-year deal for $5 million? I would say possibly. I would say that's something that they should be exploring as we speak here.
I think that's why I keep harping on the fact that the class is so deep, because if it wasn't, then these guys would have been signed by now. But we have Kadarius Toney, we have Rashad Bateman, we have the top 3 guys, obviously. And there's so many more names that you could throw out there. I couldn't even begin to list them all. So all these teams are looking at it, and it's like, okay, we can get this guy in the 3rd round probably, and he's still going to fit exactly what we're looking for. We don't need to spend money on an older guy who we already know, he's good, but we would have to give him a lot of money, or at least a lot of money, relatively speaking, to what a rookie contract would be. So you run into this situation where, they're either going to have to take bargain basement, or they're going to have to take the year off, which let's be honest about. Is the NFL offering opt-outs this year?
No.
So there is no more.
I don't think so.
There is no more COVID opt-out thing. Okay. So, but even if they don't have an opt-out, it doesn't really matter, because they could just say, you know what, I'm just going to take the year off. You guys, if you need me, call me. If you make it worth my while, I'll come in there. But otherwise, I still have been paid millions of dollars over the past several years. I can survive 1 year without playing in the NFL. I can let myself heal up. I can kind of relax, go on vacation, spend time with my family. And when you guys have money to spend, then I'll think about coming back.
Yeah,
so,
it's as simple as that. I think a lot of these guys are just looking around and saying, man, is this even worth it? Let me just go get the best 1-year deal I can get. And who knows? Maybe you have a bunch of these guys flocking to contenders at the last minute. Maybe that's something that you can see happen.
Everybody flies to Kansas City.
Anybody interested in James Conner?
No.
No?
They already got their James Conner and Malcolm Brown. So and they got him cheaper.
What we need is a Matt Breida. You know what? I take it back. Quite frankly, I take it back. They don't need a Matt Breida. You know why they don't need a Matt Breida? Because even if they get one, they're not going to use him. They're really not. We've had speeding running backs for the past several seasons, and every single time we always scream and holler, "Why are you not using this guy?" And the answer is always, "Oh, why not? I don't know." They didn't use Kenyon Drake. They didn't use Matt Breida. Maybe they don't like fast players. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
When they did use Kenyon Drake, he was a star for about half a season. So, maybe they'll learn from it. That's also another interesting thing. Kenyon Drake is still out there. after he turned down a 2-year deal from the Cardinals in season. And everybody thought, well, that's smart because he's going to go get a 4 or 5-year deal elsewhere. That's a guy that could conceivably just go right back to the team he came from. He might just go back to Arizona on a 1-year deal with whatever they have left, and they get a bargain because there's no market for him. Because what's Kenyon Drake going to do? He's going to go out there. He's going to say, "Give me $40 million for 4 years."
No,
nobody has that for him. And that's probably what he wants. But
that's around what Aaron Jones got, and he was one of the best running backs in football. Like Kenyon Drake ain't getting anywhere near that.
It's not going to happen. Another interesting guy that got cut earlier this morning was Davion Williams. He opted out last year. He was almost MVP of the Super Bowl.
Do we want to bring him back? I always said he was underrated in Miami.
He's a hell of a player, but I think the Dolphins are done with the running back room to the draft. I really do believe so.
I'll put it this way: I would rather have Davion Williams than Patrick Laird. How about that? Just to get the Patrick Laird thing out of the way, I would rather have Davion Williams than Patrick Laird.
Yeah, I would think so.
Sammy Watkins. Any interest in him? He's still available.
He's always injured. But he fits the bill for what they want to do. I just find it really, really interesting that they went out there to go get John Ross, and then they went and they got John Ross Jr. and Robert Foster. Like they had a plan for what they wanted to do at the wide receiver position late in free agency, I guess. So I just find it. I don't know if he makes the team, but they're essentially the same guy. So they have a plan there. They wanted a guy who just runs 9 routes, and they got that.
How about this one? Marquise Goodwin got released from the 49ers.
He's another buy low speed guy. So I think they already got their buy low speed guy. In
Is
Robert
that
Foster.
Now that Kai and Juan are not here to give me a hard time about it, Jakeem Grant's still in the building, gentlemen. He's still fast. Oh my God, here comes Kai just until they say his name.
Listen, sitting here just trying to communicate with Matt about some serious stuff, and I hear the name 19 be popped up into existence.
That's not a name, that's a number.
No, it's a name. You can spell it out. 19, dog. Words. I just had to come back.
Doggone it, man. It's like as soon as I say Kai's not here, it's like, oh, hold on. I feel a disturbance in the force. It's time to go badmouth Jakeem Grant some more.
Okay, all right, but I have to legitimately go. My head has been pounding me. Like I don't think I will be back. Matt,
I have an oil for that.
Shout you out. I know you do. Listen, Lewis, so we're gonna meet up one day, and you're gonna help me because I know you have a bunch of stuff that'll help me on the daily. But my head is pounding me. But I want to legitimately ask, what in God's green earth do you still see as a wide receiver from 1-9?
I didn't say we have him as a wide receiver.
But that's not the question.
I said he's a weapon.
Why he's not a weapon if he can't catch.
Well, oh my God!
Can he catch, Lewis?
Preston Williams has the dropsies. You're not trying to get him out of You're not trying to kick him out of here.
Preston Williams has more God-given talent right now that he's been using than Jakeem Grant has for us as a wide receiver.
He can't catch the ball, Kai.
Jakeem Grant was dropping balls left and right. He can't even. He was. Oh my God, my head's gonna explode. I can't even do this.
Get off the stream.
I'm going to. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
He still runs really, really fast, so you have to cover him, right?
Yes.
He doesn't
just send him on go routes then. Every single play, just have him.
Hey, and that has a value. Like that has a real value in the
for
NFL.
His number?
A guy who's willing to just run in a straight line really, really, really fast, 9-10 times a game. That's why Kenny Stills was so valuable for so long. So yeah,
and he was definitely nothing special. Houston moved on with him without even blinking.
I just want to answer this question and say a lot. It's a lot of food.
Dude, they sent me just so much food. Like
they sent a lot of food.
Oh
like
my God.
I wasn't gonna be greedy about it. I just asked for some some wings, and then the dude called me. He's like, "All right, I got a cheesesteak for you. I got 2 full meals for you." And I was like,
"Yeah,
yo, I'm fat, man. This is not good to give to me."
I mean, I'm on the chunky side, and I'm like, not even I can eat all this food. They brought me 2 orders of wings. They brought me 2 cheese. That's exactly. They brought me 2 orders of fries, and I'm like, I'm one guy. Like I know I'm a little whiter than one guy, but I'm one guy.
Anyways, guys, I have to bow out because I have a podcast to attend to. That's the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast. So you guys can take it from here.
I'll stick around till Mike and Juan get here at 7. Just
It's
so
been a
it's not
pleasure.
a lonely thing. Alf, thank you so much for joining, man. Send another thing to us from CK as well for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Everybody keep an eye out for that 3YPC podcast that's going to probably be dropping tonight, I imagine. Always good stuff from our guys, Simon Clancy, Alfredo Artiaga, and Chris Kaufman.
And shout out to like I know we're down to like 90 now, but shout out to all of you guys, honestly, for this is going on over 3 hours now. And especially guys like Alf who had been here for the full 3 hours that we've been doing this so far. Lewis, you've been here for the same thing, the full 3 hours. You've been here since the jump. You know, I know me and Matt came in at probably a half an hour late or something like that. But shout out obviously, to us, but to the guys watching, guys, girls, and everyone watching, and putting your comments down. Those who have sent super chats, of course, you can do that through YouTube as well, and just kind of supporting us in that way and supporting the channel, the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I think Ethan just said we're 30 from 11,000 subscribers, and that means a lot to all of us. And
it's very much appreciated. Yes,
we're going to also be doing a lot of, I know for a fact that we're going to be doing a lot of stuff as well once it comes down to everything with the draft. This isn't ending yet. Juan and Mike are going to come on here soon. Mike is finishing his show at Onside, then he'll be on at 7. Juan should be joining as well, and I think both Matt and Lewis are going to be here. Shout out to Matt for staying in for me because my head is going to explode. I
will be bringing back Pulse of Fins Nation as well pretty soon. That's the show where I take comments from all the internet places and I just kind of chew them out for being either stupid. I congratulate them for being smart, or I just be like, what am I reading right now? This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And I try to throw in a few of my own sense of humor jokes in there. My brother's my video editor, so he's actually really good at what he does, at least in my opinion, certainly better than what I could do. So I owe him a lot on that one. And yes, speaking of which, since Lewis Peters has made another comment in the comment section, I'm just going to go ahead and take a moment to plug him as well. Lewis Peters of the State Farm Insurance Agent. Make sure you give him a call and he will give you the best quotes that you will be able to find. Big time sports fan, big time follower of 5 Reasons Sports, and we are incredibly grateful to him for sponsoring this show. And yes, the Dolphins haven't made it easy to do this show because they're not really giving us anybody to talk about. But
we thought it was going to be. I mean, I know when we were talking about this.
That's probably the only frustration I have about free agency is that
I thought it was going to be popping, man.
I saw someone go, "You shouldn't be calling it a blitz," and I was like, "Man."
That's why I said at the very beginning of the show. It's more like the pass rush from the Dolphins at the very beginning of the season. There was no pass rush.
You had to use a blitz.
Oh man.
And even then, it didn't work. Oh, okay, yes. Jacoby Brissett. Woohoo! Okay.
What did I say? Does that say came for the croquetas?
Came for croquetas, staying for the Dolphins.
He's from Miami, right?
Yeah, he is. He's from Palm Beach.
So he knows about croquetas all too well. I'm sure.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, this is an interesting one.
Sam Marco, talk about the worst free agent signing in the past 5 years. Are you talking about Miami only or like in the NFL?
There's a lot of bad. You got to go and
Jordan
really
Howard
think about that.
last year. Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
No, Matt Breida.
No,
but he wasn't a free
Matt,
agent signing.
No, I don't accept
Oh yeah,
that.
he was a trade.
Even if he wasn't, man, I don't accept
he also
it.
wasn't utilized.
He wasn't used. That was my biggest frustration. They don't use speed guys. Why?
Man, I'm trying to think. Worst free agent signing in the past 5 years.
Because it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it from
right now, Jalen Mills signing that deal with the Patriots, that's going to be stupid.
Okay, so for
$28 million deal.
So for the league, you're saying Jalen Mills Patriots right now. Okay.
Yeah, it's a dumb deal.
Let's
Absolutely
see.
stupid deal.
Julius Thomas. Oh no, we traded for him.
I don't know where this is coming from.
We traded for him.
Because I'm on Twitter right now and I don't see anything from me in Rappaport.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it might be a fake. It's probably a. Okay, 1 minute ago from Ian Rappaport, Giants are expecting a visit from Kenny Golladay, one of the top available players.
Yeah, so that's got to be a fake.
Yeah, look at his name. His name is Chris Brown. Do you think that Chris Brown is watching the show?
No, I'm thinking.
Listen, you don't have to be.
I'm thinking he's looking at Twitter. He got tricked by some troll out there who's trying to get all of Dolphins.
Everything about that guy is fake.
Those faux Shefties, man, Sometimes they're really good.
Oh yeah,
We
they
have to
catch you.
find whoever
They
Chris
catch
Brown
you,
is
yeah.
talking about, and we have to blow the whistle on him and be like, "Hey,
I'm gonna switch
you're
it
making everything miserable here. You're making it difficult to do our job. This is we're
I
doing our
actually
job
got
here."
a question for you, Lewis, because I heard you talk sometimes. What's your hate with Juju Smith?
My only issue with Juju Smith was that I don't appreciate people who are show-offs, braggarts. I don't like that type of attitude. That was the one thing about Jarvis Landry I did not like, was that he was always up in his emotions, always doing crazy stuff he didn't need to do, that dancing on
I
the
see nothing on
logo.
Galladay, by the way. Nothing even fake.
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
nothing.
just
Okay,
put it
yeah, I
out
don't
there.
think there's
I'm
anything from
CFO
Galladay.
thing.
Yeah, that was my only real issue with Juju Smith-Schuster, is that I just didn't like his attitude. But if he's a good
But, like,
guy, and, okay,
I
but
just feel like
you
almost
asked-
every football player is like a little bit of a showboat. No,
okay,
like,
but you know
Well,
what? There's a
thinking about
difference.
Richard Sherman,
If you're, and I don't like when he does that either. I don't like.
Richard Sherman's one of the best, if not like
Yes,
he's in the
I didn't
conversation
say
of
he
one of
wasn't
the
a
best
good.
cornerbacks of all time.
Kai, I didn't say he wasn't a good player. I said I didn't like his attitude. That's the same thing I didn't like
No, I
about
will
Baker Mayfield, is that I didn't like his
I will
attitude.
take a Richard Sherman on my team any day of the week.
Well, you didn't ask me if I would take him on the team. You asked me why I don't like him.
But I mean, but that's the leading into the question of would you take him on the team?
I'll take him on the team, but I wish that he wouldn't taunt the other team and piss them off all the time. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Do you think that's just the Steelers locker room in general?
I don't know.
Because remember, buddy, Notre Dame
Maybe it
receiver
is.
rookie, what's his
Mike
name?
Wallace.
Oh my god, no, Notre Dame
Antonio
receiver.
Brown.
They just got him. No, the Steelers. Why is it? Why am
Chase
my brain is
Claypool.
not- Yes, thank you, Claypool. Like he went on the next day on TikTok live and was saying the Browns are going to lose next week anyways.
Stop. Hold on. I have to point this out. Can you highlight
Josh
that last
Sitton.
comment, please? Oh,
Josh
please,
Sitton.
no. No, he was not. Josh Sitton?
I
He
think
was a
me
bad
and-
signing
me
in
and
what
Mac were at the
world?
same time.
If he had been healthy, he would have been the best lineman all year. He
would've.
thought he was a bad signing.
But what do we? Oh my god. I don't know. Julius Thomas wasn't the pass. Was it the
No,
past
he
5
was. He
years?
was. I remember we traded for him. We traded Albert to the Jaguars for Julius Thomas. So,
correct. Yes.
so that doesn't count.
Brandon Albert.
Albert,
Oh, man,
Albert wasn't a bad signing. He was just hurt.
he
He was
not a bad.
He was
signing.
good when he was healthy.
Haven't you noticed that that's what the Dolphins always do?
What
They
find
get
guys
these.
who are
They
not
get these
healthy and hope
offensive
they get better.
linemen and that like are always that have been notoriously good throughout their careers, and then they come here and they get hurt.
It's not that they get bad; it's
Think
that they
about
didn't get hurt. Okay, Sam, he
Like
wasn't.
Josh
He wasn't healthy. That doesn't make him a bad signing. That just means that we got unlucky.
But for this, like Juju primarily plays in the slot. Slot receivers are not getting 100-yard games like that all the time. But again, when you talk about the Juju stuff, and maybe you agree with me on this, Matt, because as much as I've wanted him, and I talked with Big O about this earlier today, I think to myself at the same time, it's like, I really want Juju. He's a really good slot receiver, but at the same time, it's like, I didn't want to sign Jarvis, and Jarvis was a really good slot wide receiver.
I would take
And
Jarvis
this isn't
over
the same
Juju. At least I
ballpark of money. But you get me? It's like you don't, as much as I would like it, unless he shows that he can be an outside guy and not just primarily play in the slot, though he is extremely good at it. I'm not paying a slot receiver $12 to $14 million a year. No chance. And it's the same thing I said with Jarvis. It was like, $14 million a year. I was like, all right, go have fun in Cleveland.
Mind you, he's
Like,
not
there's
doing
no
too bad.
way.
It's just that he's been pretty quiet since going to Cleveland.
Is Jarvis worth the contract he was signed to?
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't. He's doing okay, but he's not Jarvis Landry anymore.
He's doing the production value of what Devontae Parker's current contract is for $8-9 million a year, which would be great. I would have loved even at 10 or 11, would have loved Jarvis at that number. But what he wanted, Jarvis himself will tell you, unless he's full of it, which he is, that he's not worth 14.
So what's a number that you would sign Juju? Like you would be happy, but try to keep in mind a number that you think that he would be happy at.
12.
Don't be like,
There's no
I would
number
say-
he would be
I would
happy
say-
with. The number he's happy with and the number we're willing to pay with do not coincide.
But I don't
believe
Juju's the next age of NFL free agent though, and young player. And I think that's something that you have to think about. This man, outside of just the game itself, is making a buttload of money. And he's at that next level with some of these guys where, like, look, you know what? A lot of people crap on Baker Mayfield a lot for doing those commercials.
I don't care.
He's
if
a
he does
rich man,
commercials.
but you get me. Like that's one of the things. It's like people like Colin Cowherd's one of the biggest ones, obviously, and whatever Colin Cowherd, who cares? But like they all like to crap on him for doing commercials. And it's like, you know what? Kid's gonna be his kids are gonna be able to go to college for free.
Right.
I
Like
don't
Colin
because of that
Cowherd's
money.
commercials are actually good.
I do not
The ones with
care
Joy
if he does
Taylor.
commercials.
Shout
If, he
out
does,
Joy, by the way. But
if players
you
do
know.
commercials, I don't care, man. Like market
But you get me,
yourself
like
by all means.
in terms of the contract for Juju, it's like, you know what? Like you have a situation where, hey, like I if it's as we've seen from the Saints and other teams now, voidable years are a thing, and so the cap is just completely fabricated, as I've told Lewis before.
It can't be too fabricated because we can't really sign what we're looking for right now.
Cap is fabricated, Lewis. I'm telling you. Look at the Chiefs, man. The Chiefs were $5 million over and signed Joe Thuney to his deal. Obviously, it's not going to end up being an $80 million deal. It's like a 2 or 3 year deal in all reality. But signed him to a deal and signed Kyle Long? Come on.
Kyle Long went for $5 million. What's the big deal?
That's the $5 million that they were over.
And they cut
But
their
back
two
to
starting
the
tackles to do it.
Yeah, who cares? Back to the main question of the.
I bet you Mahomes cares.
He was happy with the Joe Thuney and the Kyle Long, showed that support on Twitter.
Yeah, he showed that support on Twitter, and he's silently saying, like, what? But now what are you going to do about my blind side?
And he restructured his contract to make it happen, as did Travis Kelce, as did Chris Jones. But to go down to the thing, I think maybe like 12 and a half. Hell no, Ben. I saw that pop up. No chance. I don't even think that deserves. I'm sorry. I love you for supporting us. I'm going to pop it up because now I'm talking about it. No chance. You want me to take basically a 3rd round pick almost to go out there and trade Devontae Parker? No shot. But like 12 and a half, I mean, maybe 13, but it also depends when you think about it. Like we might come out with that number, right? And we'll be upset. Let's say he signs for like 13 a year or something. And in reality, it could be maybe 15 the first year, 14 the next year, and then you can cut him with no issues. So I think it just depends because I think we know a lot more about the cap now than we did in when did Jarvis? Well, that was 2017, 2018? 2018, I think. You don't know. We don't know the same. You know, things are different now with the cap that we know of and that NFL teams know of and what they can do. I mean, again, this voidable year stuff. They were able to, you know, like the Saints. You're able to move all this money out of the way that you gave the stupid contract to Taysom Hill in the first place, right? And you move it to a 4-year, $140 million deal. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay the money he is owed. But that this is stuff that
So that wasn't a typo. It was 140 million.
It's all voidable. All years are voidable.
Wow. Okay.
So it's the same thing with the Tom Brady thing. They signed Tom Brady to a 4-year deal. All years voidable. So it's essentially what it's doing is you're pushing back that money that would be a roster bonus or into a signing bonus, and you're adding that to something else. Eventually, you'll have to pay him. Like it's what's the name? Bobby Bonilla. You'll probably have like a Taysom Hill day eventually down the line, where it's like Taysom Hill gets paid this amount of money. Obviously, the Bobby Bonilla thing is like what a smart agent, but it's going to kind of be a similar situation there, where you're going to have to kind of just do everything. You get what I mean? And you're going to have to just kind of make it work.
Yeah, I hear you. So we're still waiting on Michael.
I don't think.
I'm not sure they're coming back. Quite frankly,
I'm not sure about Juan. Of course, Juan. You know, he has his daughter. Both of his daughters and his wife, and I'm pretty sure that's why he's been out. Mike just texted me actually and said that his boss will not let him. Like he has to do something for his boss. So I think the best way to do it is just round it off. We have been going for 3.5 hours. We've had kind of steady talking, everything in and hey, I'm going to be able to get rid of my headache and everyone else is going to be able to do anything. We have any final words? And I guess I'll start with you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can come out of this with Mr. David Andrews.
Did you make that graphic?
Yeah.
I just hope he turns out to be better than Karras, seriously, because I've heard people say
he's better than Karras. He is better than Karras. He is 100% better than Karras.
I even had one person tell me that Karras is that Andrews is better than Hudson. I don't believe that for a second.
No shot. Hudson's given up like 3 sacks in the past like 3 or 4 years. Like no, he
I didn't think it was that good.
Center. No, Rodney Hudson is a very good center. Can you pop it up really quick? Just I want to. You couldn't have like added in like a what's it called, like the bucket tool on Photoshop and like make his jersey a different color. You just
could you?
I didn't do it on Photoshop.
Okay.
I mean, even on Microsoft Paint, you could at least do something because he's even still wearing the Patriots
graphic though.
He's wearing the Patriots helmet.
Look at his beard too.
Lewis,
yes?
bite me. All right, if you want something,
bring it back up real quick. Look at that man's beard, dude.
He looks good, man.
That's a man right there.
Look, I added Tua, and he's like bowing down. He's like, "Thank you for protecting me." You know.
Hey, listen. If we're talking about beards, there's one thing that we have to say before we go.
Stop. Nope.
Ryan. Thank you, Ryan Fitzpatrick, for the 2 years of fun football.
Thanks for signing with the Washington football team, where your career will go to die. Woohoo!
You don't like him, do you?
No, I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just don't like this idea that he's a god.
I didn't say he was a god. I said thank you for giving us some fun football to watch the last 2 years.
When is the Washington football team going to get a real name? Do we know that yet?
I don't think they're going to.
Well, right now, Bezos trying to buy them, apparently. So
I don't think they're going to.
Washington Prime.
I don't think they're going to. I seriously think they're going to keep it as it is.
They could have gone like Washington Football.
I think they're good. I think they're
like
going to
Washington FC. Oh my god, that would.
They've already started marketing stuff, man. They're not going to make all that merchandise they've already sold.
They said they'll have something next year.
No, they won't.
Anyways, okay, we're going to end it off. We want to thank, or do you want to get this through, Matt? Because I think you'll kill it a little bit better than I will with the things that we need to give out.
Yeah, so just a quick shout out to both of our main sponsors for today's show. We definitely got Miami Grill. No, actually, okay, Lewis Peters is the one we're going to start. The actual man. You did it before I was ready. But Lewis Peters, the man, the myth, the legend, he can save you so much money with your insurance. Give him a call. He loves sports. He'll give you a talk about all these sports. He has good opinions on it. And if you argue with his opinions, he will not raise the prices. So don't worry about that. He can protect you anyway, with your car. He can help you bundle. And he's with a legitimate company, State Farm Insurance agent. So you're not looking at a guy who's representing Abuela's, chicken insurance or some shit like that. This isn't Toro. This isn't the Toro. What's that insurance company here you see in the mall? The Toro. You never seen it?
I have no idea.
Oh my god,
it's like a bull.
It might be the worst CGI I've ever seen. So go to Lewis Peters instead.
All right. So Other than that, we got Miami Grill. They're our newest sponsor. If you are looking to win, you got to go to Miami Grill, the number one fast food restaurant out there. Look
at that cheesesteak, man.
Oh my god, it was really good. It was really, really good. Oh, it was fire. Yo, you didn't get one. I'm so sorry. It was so good.
Got it right here.
I have some more left. Their wings are really good. Their gyros are really good, and their fries they're fantastic. But that's not all they have. They have a bunch of other things that you want to try, meatball subs and all of that. I'm gonna cut to a quick little video.
At Miami Grill, we've been delivering big favorites from big places for over 30 years. We use fresh ingredients that pack bold flavors, and we always deliver your food the way you like it. So tonight, don't just bring home dinner, bring home Miami.
That app nice and clean too. Ooh.
Yeah.
The worst experience, man, is a horrible app. But that app nice and clean, man. Oh my god.
Anyways, other than that, everybody, thanks for sticking around and watching this show. 3 yards per carry.
Thank you for your.
What's the next episode of 3 yards per carry?
The next episode of 3 yards per carry, it should be out tomorrow, unless he gets it out tonight.
I think we're referring to the extra yard.
The extra yard will be next week on Wednesday. I think we decided not to do one this week. Not that my head would be able to take it right now, anyways. But since we had the free agency blitz, we decided not to do one this week. So we will be back next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. here on 5 Reason YouTube every single Wednesday. Even if the Heat have a pregame show, we'll do 15 minutes. We'll do 30 minutes. We don't care. We got to represent for the Dolphins, man. Look at the flag. Wrong side.
Definitely,
look at the flag.
Definitely. And Lewis, when can we expect to see Pulse of Fins?
Pulse of Fins Nation will be coming out. I'm going to try to aim for next week. I got to find some good comments that I can react to and kind of talk about some with. So if you have anything you'd like to bring out, anything you'd like to insert into the show, again, the more interaction I get, the more shows I can do. the more interaction I get, the more shows I can do. So just go ahead, and this show really is all about you guys, the people. So if you want to get in on it, just let me know, tag me, do whatever you got to do, and I will find you.
Other than that, guys, just make sure you keep an eye out for the Heat stuff. Obviously, we got a Heat pregame show coming up in a couple, postgame shows tonight. You want to join Royal? He's a pretty funny guy.
Love Royal.
He's got a couple jokes in there that'll keep you entertained. Other than that, the other guys are okay too. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining all of us, and we hope to see you again soon. Later.
All right, good night.